Here we go. Recording. All right, Aaron, you have our full undivided attention.
Okay, great, thanks. Can you see my screen as well as my person, or just my screen?
Yeah, we can see you're in picture up top.
Oh, okay, that's exciting. I didn't know that was possible. Cool, so quiet in the peanut gallery, or what I didn't hear what was going on. Hello? Okay, I guess I'll start. Yeah, so my name is Aaron, just for everybody, and I am the program director of the Climate Sign Initiative in Care About Climate. And so today, as I am re-envisioning and resituating climate sign activities as a part of the new year and new goals, I'll talk about what those goals are, and then my big the big part of the presentation will be a pathways to change that I will try to explain, but it's very complicated, so I assume there will be questions about that. So this is, of course, the climate sign and the hand sign. We always focus on what the climate sign looks like. It is a sleek and easily recognizable double arrow in a circular. And then we also promote the C climate hand sign that people can use in real life. So this is definitely more a part of in-person engagement when we're talking about volunteers and people using the sign. And this is a little bit more of a digital engagement platform or tool. But of course, they can work both ways because this looks very good on, both look very good on paper, really. Okay, so the climate sign is, as I've discussed before, a sort of vehicle for getting things done. And it does that by carrying always a certain message. And it's very important, at least at the beginning, when launching climate sign campaign, to be very specific about what kind of values climate sign represents and what kind of values that we wish to see in the climate change or climate movement. And so there are the 5 C's of climate sign, and they are in sort of 3 parts. Looking at the first one, probably most important, not only for climate sign in general, but for also very important for people who represent climate sign when we talk about the climate movement or climate sign in particular, is to carry a hopeful message. And that hopeful message is on the basis that we all have the agency to do things as individuals, but putting that agency together into a collective or into a community is the sort of the key, the pathway, as I'll say, or as I'll talk about in a bit, to meaningful, long-lasting change. We cultivate relationships in community primarily, as that's our primary goal, and that those relationships in community are around a shared hope of being able to make a real change in how our culture and society as a people, not just as a country, but anywhere from our, the human race all the way down to like the home level, is around a shared hope of making that change possible. Within those relationships and communities, we strive to create spaces for dialogue, because this is, one, how education happens, two, how people are able to discuss their interests or their stakes in the climate, and three, how mostly how we get new people into the climate movement is having a way for the uninitiated, I guess, to learn what's going on and to then give their own opinions and make contributions in that way. So it's a very, very low level of entry, low barrier to entry, I mean, because all that we ask really is that people have or use their voice that they already have. And specifically, we ask them to use that voice to claim their stake. Ultimately, climate sign is not just about saying, hey, I am in this, but hey, I am in this because I need to be, because I have some stake or some interest in the climate. And a lot of that is created by, in this space for dialogue, showing what that stake can be for different people in different levels of society. And then finally, we connect individuals and groups to each other, and then to opportunities for making that change happen. So once we have a message and a community with people who are knowledgeable and devoted to it, we allow them, or we show them, how to make use of that energy and excitement. So Pathways to Change is the various, this is not the pathways, but in general, it is the way that we see change happening is taking individuals, putting them within a context, a community, and then moving that community in a specific way up through the levels. So again, it all starts with the individual, and change, though, actually happens on the community scale. So this is the Pathways to Change. We are starting right here at the green at the bottom. These are the foundational steps that we need to take, that we are taking right now, in order to make the rest of this happen. And then gradually we can work our way up. The yellow level, or the level of activity right here in yellow, is about creating initial relationships, and sort of like in here. So this is green, right? We're creating our message. And then yellow here, we have creating relationships. In orange, we are creating spaces for dialogue and allowing people to stake their claim. That is getting down to the local, or actual, municipal level, we would say in American politics, the city and state level, about bringing these levels of people together in order to talk about and, so again, stake their claim in climate change and the climate movement. The pink up here is our sort of final end goals, right? If we could all just have what we want right away, this is what we would have. And the red is sort of those reach goals that help us get there. But, these are real big things about having a public brand once it is already out there and has a base on which it is built. These red things are about reaching out into people not already in the community, but not into the community at all, and pulling them in. So a real growth opportunity in the red ones, but those are our big goals right there. So I won't go over each of these. There's a lot, of course, here. We can, in the Q&A, talk about maybe specific ones that are most important. But this will be available for everybody to see, of course. Dave, how am I doing on time?
We actually just texted you 2 minutes left on your 10-minute intro.
Oh, okay. I did not see that. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. And then, so that is the theory of change, that we are again working from the individual to the community in hopes of making our agency, collectivizing our agency, and then producing a real big result on real society, or real impact on society. And so looking forward, in the next couple weeks at most, hopefully, we hope to finish that green step in the Pathways to Change. So populating the actor network, which is something that we've talked about. A lot of that is in assets and what the people in the community who maybe don't know about each other yet have to offer each other. Building a volunteer base will be a big thing, so that we can get people involved and get people moving toward the next step, the yellow level. Creating an activism toolkit online and in person. That is something that is actually just about done. So that's good. Developing an online presence will be the next major thing. And we will be using our website as well as various social media tools and campaigns in order to do that. There's a couple already in the pathways to change. And then reaching out to the actors, that's again the people who are already doing, part of organizations and doing things on the ground in order to survey them and then help create a resource and needs base for people to help each other out. And that is it.
Awesome. Thank you. Sparkles or claps or thank you so much. That was really nice.
Hi.
Open the floor to anyone having questions or comments. And remember, we'll keep these clear and concise so everyone can chime in.
If somebody is talking, I cannot hear.
Sorry.
Okay, just to keep things concise, this is just a suggestion for a future longer conversation. Your pathways all looked great. We like the top delegation is one of our main topics for the past 2 years, the Time for Change campaign, which focuses on NDCs but also has a lot of overlap with the climate sign, and we'll talk a little bit more about like what I think our changes to the Sign for Change storytelling campaign should be during my presentation, but I just want to suggest that any of us that are currently working on some kind of storytelling project or whose programs are soliciting climate stories, that we have a conversation to make sure we're not doing parallel work and that we're all doing what is within our own skill set.
Cool.
Very good. Yes, suggestion. I agree.
Natalie.
Hey there. Okay, so can you hear me? Just making sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. If you could share the pathways with me, that would be, or with all of us, that would be super cool. That was really awesome. I guess, how are you planning on soliciting the rest of this group to like help actualize some of your work? That's been a little like confusing to me. And I think leaning on this group of people to use the connections that they already have is going to be really useful and helpful. And I think like we could help with like the toolkit, and I think we could help with like our partnerships and different things that we have. But also don't know sometimes when to jump in and help out. So I guess like what does that
For sure.
receiving and
Yeah, thank you. I think, as I suggested in one of the calls, it would be good practice to always have a list for things that I need, like specific tasks that I need done, and maybe even positions like in the volunteer base that I need filled. So I think once I can produce that list for, I have that list sort of scattered everywhere. So once I collate that list and I can offer it to the group, a lot of it will be about like helping spread or start the word of mouth about climate sign. But another big part of it will be gathering data about, like contacts for partners so that they can be a part of the actor network.
Gotcha. Did that answer your question, Natalie? I would have.
kind of, yeah. I think just making sure that there's specific acts around it.
She's a little far away, Aaron. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah,
she was saying,
can't really.
she just said to make sure that there's specific tasks and asks moving forward.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Jeff.
Yeah, hi Aaron, this is Jeff. So I wanted to speak to just a couple of things briefly. What Sydney was saying as far as collaborating on storylines so they don't kind of entwine each other in ways that aren't optimal. And the other thing is I like the fact that you're setting up pathways of change diagram. And I think we also need to look at how it doesn't just flow from the bottom up from individuals to society, but it also goes in more complicated ways downward, because there's a framing that's done at international levels as well that we can take advantage of. And I would suggest that we look at the arrows bidirectionally and where the value add of our efforts in climate science efforts can be most worked on, so that we're not working with a clean sheet of paper. There's a lot of activities that we all know going on in the world around pretty much everything that you have there. So where our efforts can leverage and amplify what's going on in that diagram in a bidirectional way, I think would be useful. And as was said earlier by Natalie, to share, and then we'll share all of that. So.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Yeah.
Anyone else?
That's
have any
definitely
thoughts?
something. Oh yeah, I just wanted to
Go
say,
ahead.
in response to Jeff, that's something that I did think about. It's a very good idea to consider all directions of these various influences or forces. I'm not sure how easily it would have been portrayed on this, but I totally agree with the sentiment. Yeah.
And just so you know, Aaron, Natalie did go off. We have she has papers on all the windows of each program. So she was going over there to take notes of your stuff or questions.
Oh,
I think,
okay.
She didn't just walk away from your discussion earlier. She was.
Oh, okay.
I may see points that we can have task about each program.
Like action items.
Yeah.
While other people think of some thoughts, because I think we still have about 8 minutes left or so. It's just a pure comment. This is really cool to see this pathway, because it's really like, as opposed to a theory of change, which is a very step back approach. This is like, is an actual stepwise thing, which is really cool. Because like the top green or pink one, the universal recognition and use of the climate sign, I feel like it's weird now because it's been in my life now like for 5, almost 6 years now. I like talk to people and I'm like, oh yeah, we did this thing, the climate sign. I'm like, I'm waiting for that moment when I'm talking to someone I don't know and they're like, I've heard of that. That's like that's not in the climate. That's not in the climate sphere. Well, what? Anyway.
Yeah.
But it's cool because that makes sense. Like getting actual additional content creators, reaching out to the uninitiated who like aren't in the climate. I really like it and appreciate it because it makes concrete sense.
Thank you. Yes, I thought I won't rest until somebody drunkenly gets a climate sign tattooed. That was like that's a goal for me.
Very cool, Natalie.
I guess the other thing I would mention is like seeing some of these like timelines around like how these campaigns are managed and run would be helpful to me, because all of this feels very theoretical and I'm more in like the action plan space in my brain. And so that's just some feedback of like, on like month and a half ago, this isn't like a critique, it's more just like a statement of like climate science has always been very nebulous to me and very like tangible at the same time. So like trying to figure out very concrete steps we can take to try to make cities happen is something that like I'm looking forward to. And trying to figure out ways that we can effectively disseminate the climate science in other programs and how the other programs can help support climate science and make it stronger. Like that flow is also something that I think we're looking for, and strong communication about how that is happening would be like really important for me, because I'm still struggling with what this looks like, and maybe that's because we haven't exist yet. And I want to help you with that. So I guess that's just some things to know. Oh,
Yes. Just based on what you just said, in terms of integrating the climate science into the program, it's something I've noticed that works. So, for example, when I've met other international volunteers and people involved, we've taken pictures of the climate science. And then just this Christmas, when I went back home, all of my friends met me and they were like, "Oh, climate science!" All of them. None of them took climate science.
That's
So,
awesome.
it was an effective way because I'm very involved with social media, and Hugo as well. So we have a lot of pictures. So they saw that, they thought it was cool. We did a picture like at a bar with the class. So it's nice because, even though in the beginning they didn't know that much about it, they can then go and do it. So it would be nice to have more developed strategies for programs to integrate that as well because it definitely works.
We'll give Aaron time to respond to those two, and then Sydney.
Yeah, definitely part of it is because I'm still learning quite a bit about what everybody does. To be honest, just today I found some videos about Impadere Clima that everything came together. And so I think, maybe I was just like, oh, of course, they'll just do that. But I will definitely make it a priority to draw up a list of what other people in this core care about climate team and how they can get involved. Each of these really will have, each action here is a step in and of itself, but will have constituent, steps in them. And so that is a part of, or that is just about taking the time to list everything out, which now that this is done, the bigger picture, I can focus on these real actionable, smaller steps that we have now that we have a direction that we're going.
Awesome. Sydney?
Yeah, just quickly, could you clarify, this follows up on Natalie's point about tasks or things you need from us. Could you clarify, the relationship between climate sign and things we're trying to do for Earth Day? Since we're now about 2 months out, is that something we should all be pushing on social media? I've had a couple of Earth Day network groups reach out to do other things. Are we really trying to push the climate sign to that? Do you have a timeline on that?
Yeah, of course, Earth Day is on my mind, and I will be reaching out and getting more involved with that Earth Day WhatsApp group that I think you sent to me, Sydney. And anyway, so I will be following up with that, about that with them. For our Earth Day, I do not know what other people's plans are for Earth Day. So I think if I can, once I get information about what other projects are doing for Earth Day, I can, and maybe we can, each project leader and I can discuss a little bit their plans, and I can key each project in a specific way that would be most useful for both of us.
Awesome.
I mean, no, we don't have any other Earth Day projects. I think that this is like the thing that we want to push on.
Okay, so then if it, no, go ahead.
No, this is it. So the more that we can get out climate science and ask people to use it to celebrate the 50th Earth Day, I think that would be really useful, and I think we can send out stickers and start making having partnerships and things like that. I think, Aaron, if you could, I know you and Morgan have been working on a list of orgs and stuff that you want to, and Earth Days that you have been or want to reach out to. And if you could share that with us so that we can also start doing that work. And then if you could like anybody who does get in touch with this birthday event or anything associated with this birthday that wants like stickers and stuff at this time, it's like Sabina, Logan, and I can be told that we could send packages basically. But I just don't know where those lists live or anything. So I guess that would be the first thing, like, so that we're not double contacting or anything, but if you have time to sit there and like email a bunch of Earth Day organizations and say, hey, we're with Climate Sign, we would like to offer you the opportunity to partner with us, or we would like to add value to your Earth Day or something like that. That would be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have all of that more or less ready. And we still need to have that meeting between all of us if possible.
Cool. At the end of, we're just about out of time here.
Yeah.
Be nice to round out these end ones. If we want to just quickly summarize any actionable points from this for all of us. So main action point, I think as we were talking about at the end, was get any lists for Earth Day send outs to Natalie or probably Sabina, and we can disseminate those, as well as on everyone else's end, if there's any groups of people that you want to do. I was saying each time we'll end, we'll just summarize the action items. What? Oh. So, was there another action item, Natalie? Oh, a storytelling meeting, and is that being scheduled?
I can
Cool. Sydney's gonna schedule that storytelling meeting. Okay, we have time. Or we have those action items. Great. Sure. Go and take a quick break. Thank you. Everyone say thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron. Danielle, are you emailing
you,
me
Aaron.
the presentation? Sorry, there's a southwest sunset that they're all looking at for one quick second.
No worries, no
Or are
worries.
you
I'm
able
sure
to
it's
share it,
beautiful.
or how do you want to do it?
So I tried to email you, but I don't think you got it. I'm not quite as tech savvy as Aaron, but I was just hoping to kind of, can you see that okay, or is that really horrible?
You said to just talk, you said?
Yeah, just like, can
That's totally
you,
fine.
yeah, is that okay? And
Oh wait, I actually might have it here.
do you have it? Because that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think I got it, Danielle.
Okay, so I actually, hold on.
Let me pull it up.
I made some changes, so hold on, let me see if I can quickly, during the break, email you the new version. That was awesome, Aaron.
Sure,
I
go ahead and quickly.
feel terrible going after you because it's not going to be as good as Aaron's, just putting that out there. All right. I'm so glad you got it. At least I can send emails. All right. Sent.
And then maybe when we're having discussion.
It's also laggy anyway, the one on the tape.
Is there a second little tripod on the No? Sad. Okay. A separate tripod. So maybe.
Perfect.
But,
Is it okay if I leave the video?
Yeah.
That one for
Here. We're gonna turn our video off on here just so connection's better for us to hear you all. But we'll turn it on for discussion.
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, cool. Renata, I got yours.
Cool. I have a question. I really wanted to show the intro video, like that one that we did, but it's also like 3 minutes, and I have a lot of
If
things to say.
you, it's up to you how you
But,
utilize
okay,
your
no,
time.
Yeah, but when I couldn't do it like outside my time. It has to be outside.
Either your 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay, so the 15 you mean like the discussion?
Right. If you want, you can use it during that.
No, I mean I have 18 slides of really important stuff. I'm not using 3 minutes of it for video that everyone.
I don't think everyone's seen it.
That's the thing. I wanted to show it, but 3
Might be
minutes
nice.
is too much, you know? That's why I was asking if I could do it.
I got your new one, Danielle.
Do you have an
Oh,
opportunity?
well.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Just
I
do that.
message on my could you text me the link?
I wanted to show the intro to the Equina video. but
Or
it's
whatever,
3
I don't
minutes,
know.
so I
Or
wanted
we should
to.
wait till the
Yeah,
election
I was
happens.
just asking if I could do it outside the time, but
I don't know if
Why don't you do it
he
like
listen in
this?
on these.
Just like during the Q&A.
yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Questions.
Cause yeah, that's true. I think maybe a lot of people haven't seen it, and it sets it up. That's why I do it.
Fair enough, but it's like said under your voice. No, she did, and then come back and do it.
Right, and then they instead of
Yeah. Just a little bit.
yeah.
Without having to.
Let's see.
No, yeah, because I have a lot of things to
Right,
share.
I know. Do that.
All right.
So
This should be the new one, Danielle.
yeah. Okay.
And I'll share my screen so you can see it.
Thank you so much, David.
No problem. Wait, am I already sharing my screen? Can you all see my screen?
Care about climate conflict line.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay. There we go. All right.
Awesome.
I'm just grabbing a, we're about to reconvene. Just give us
Okay.
2 quick seconds.
I'm because it's the best thing I've ever done. So grateful. It's got 2 more boxes. Yes.
No problem. Just let me know when everyone's ready.
Can I send it?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll wait till later.
It's right here. It's right.
Valid. You stole Sarah for your unapproved side project.
Unapproved side project.
For the new walk.
Nude walk?
Well, it's the same walk, but instead of being later, here's slide it, so I
That was so quick.
I know. We covered it and it's gone. Oops.
Alrighty, Danielle, we're all reconvening now.
Woo, Danielle!
So we'll give you 10 minutes for you to talk, and then we'll have some 15-minute discussion and whatever you want to talk about.
All right.
Yeah, okay. Everything's been.
I am on the Nominating Corporate Governance Committee. This is my PowerPoint for the Care About Climate 2020 retreat. By me, there's me sporting the climate sign and my climate swag. I guess I should have put a slide in to actually talk about what I do as the nominating committee. As of now, I just find people to potentially become on board. And there are a couple other duties in the, what is it, like the charter notes or whatever it is, but we haven't quite gotten there yet. So next slide, I suppose. Is just an introduction of myself. I'm Danielle Cooper. I'm currently in Tucson, Arizona. I became a member in February of 2017 because I wanted to bridge the gap between my college and my career. I currently work at Solano Growers. I have a bachelor's in sustainable plant systems with a focus in environmental horticulture and a minor in water resources. Fun fact, I love plants. Next slide. The 2017 election went great, in my opinion. I had a great teacher. Shout out to David. It was me, David, and I think her name was Caitlin. And it was lots of practice, excellent help. Really prepared me to do this last year's election. We had 3 solid people to make calls, network, brainstorm, get voters' attention, and everything like that. Next slide. This last year was definitely challenging. I thought I had some solid people, but the 2 people I thought I had kind of bailed out on me last minute. So thank you everyone for your support. If it weren't for you all, I wouldn't have had the 3 people I had. I'm glad we could make it work. Shout out to Jack. I hope you're liking it. And next slide. So moving forward, I like I said earlier, ideally it would be great to have 3 to 5 people, maybe even more. The more the merrier. This was just kind of the first thought that came in my head. Maybe everyone in their program or committee can mention the governance committee once a month until we get enough people. My goal is to maximize voting, and I'm not exactly sure how to do that. Maybe a pledge to vote, maybe a reward once you vote, even though I thought that was kind of weird because it's like your duty as a person to vote. If anyone has any other thoughts, I'm totally open to that. And just as a kind of last minute note, I was hoping to fully develop the committee because I know in the charter notes, like I said, I have like more duties that I haven't really fully explored yet. It's the last slide. If anyone has any comments, questions, suggestions, constructive criticism, let's hear it. I know that was not 10 minutes, but yeah, let's do it.
That was awesome. Thank you, Danielle. I think we'll have lots to discuss about. Everyone's clapping now.
Thank you.
Jack.
Could you tell us a little bit about what the needs of corporate governance are?
What? Sorry, I just heard corporate governance are.
This is the nominating committee, but also the corporate governance committee. What are our corporate governance needs?
So that's actually going back to my last slide. That's kind of what I want to develop. As far as the nominating and corporate governance committee, I've just kind of been on the nominating part. I think corporate governance, I think it might have to do with evaluations of programs and directors, which I would love to start doing. I would definitely have to check the charter notes to be 100% sure. And I can certainly put that in my action item. Unless anybody knows what exactly that means.
Yeah, we have Natalie talk, and then if no one else, I could talk as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think like this, as far as like what we were thinking about when we put the bylaws together and what the corporate governance committee would be more like a, it would be a resource essentially for the board as like an advisory committee that could help develop policies and structures for the organization at whole. And like basically be able to like give those policies to the board for adoption and stuff. Because it's hard for boards to make policies on their own unless you have like a policy person or people dedicated to like HR policies, but then there's like other policies that can come up too besides HR of like what sort of position should we have? How should we be dealing with like partnerships? Is there a certain process that we should be going through? Like all these questions could come up, and the corporate governance committee is supposed to like field those and sort of like help provide how to run our organization better. In addition to helping manage the election cycle as well. So that was like the theoretical concept of the corporate governance committee, to just like keep us online and like help advise the board on things that like we feel like are missing and things like that, as well as like helping evaluate programs, making sure that we're on track, being strategic, etc. as well.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. And only thing to add on, I think one of the big hopes was the corporate governance could serve as another layer of check and balance, essentially within the company corporation. And it's a big task. It's definitely not a one-person task. It's not a two-person task. Like, so when I did this the first year with just me and Danielle, you know, we had to tackle figuring out elections. To do actual corporate governance, it would, I think 3 to 5 people, 3 could probably do it if this is their main thing. We need those people. And this is something of need, I think, especially as we go forward, to make us more sustainable, functioning well. Any other comments or questions?
We can also talk about policies and procedures. Like this is supposed to be a brainstorm session,
Yeah.
so that you all get to give input on these programs and projects and stuff. So now is your opportunity to do so, because sometimes you don't always have time. Like the directors are just kind of doing it. So if you have policies and procedures that like corporate governance to look into, now would be a good time to suggest that as well.
Did you hear that, Danielle?
I just caught bits and pieces.
She said this might be a good time for people to suggest what policies and procedures corporate governance can work on in the coming future. as a big brainstorm session.
I mean, it might be helpful to come up with
Perfect.
a list of what we actually have already. I'm not sure that everyone even knows what policies are in place. So perhaps it would be good to figure out what we have and from that see what the big things are that are missing.
Would this be something that like an HR training would fall under? Because that's
It
like
would.
kind of a policy.
Because it would be HR policies.
Yeah, I think it would be hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
For actual policies, I would say we now have the community agreements as a type of policy in terms of when we get together in spaces, how to create the spaces as productive and safe spaces. We do have a no or 100% no tolerance policy that's written into all of our code of conducts, as well as we have the code of conducts. I do think we should make the no tolerance policy a separate thing outside of the code of conduct. Might be nice to flesh that out. And then I think we have one other policy, but let me check real quick. Go ahead.
So does each program already have their own policies, or is that something that needs to be created? I'm not familiar.
I believe that needs to be created. OIE might have some. Okay. So beyond that, I think.
For most of it, it's like overarching policies, meaning that like we give guidance once, usually as a reaction, unfortunately. Sometimes we do preventative measures, but a lot of it is reactionary. So like once an issue comes up in a program, we're like, this is a policy for the whole company. And if we could be more proactive, that would be good. But I don't think, I put up on this board that I think providing a list of policies would be helpful. Because yeah, we have a few, but not a ton. And it is for the whole group. I mean, but policies can spur out of organizations depending on needs. For example, we thought we would need a community agreement for COP, so we made it, and now it's like a thing that we have put together for the whole organization. So as programs start developing and find needs for like rules, basically, then we realize we can apply that to the rest of the organization and programs.
So we want at least one policy for each program? Is what I'm
I
hearing?
think it's just overarching policies that each program would have to follow.
Bye.
Yes.
So like a program
Like a baseline.
policy.
No.
No, for Carol.
No, I mean like one that
programs.
applies for all programs.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
A policy for programs.
But we don't really need a policy for programs. It's just when things come up or preemptively, we think something's going to be an issue. We feel like people need to be on the same page with something.
Yeah.
You create a policy and it applies to all programs. Or alternatively, what can happen as a program could be trying to deal with an issue, kind of like creates their own solution, and then the board adopts it as like a policy for the whole organization if they see like it works for employee or cleanup, for example.
I definitely like the idea of having an overarching policy, because I wouldn't be even sure how to create something like specifically for all my days. But I think it could be something, for example, that you, Natalie, could add to the intercall to the volunteers, you know, or like I could add to my intercall for volunteers, because we have all those tabs, and Natalie basically introduces care about comments to them, so that could be something.
Yeah,
For
we
this
can talk about our community agreements and
Yeah.
how they function as an organization.
Because then it sets the tone for all volunteers.
Yeah, so that could be something is like something that like for example, the corporate governance committee could put together a standard onboarding training.
Yeah.
Direct from the stated, but like could be more formal, so that it's targeting both board members but also volunteers, so that everyone who enters has to sign the same agreement, learn the same stuff, be part of the same organization.
Yeah.
So that like it's clear from the beginning. So that's like an idea. I like an onboarding policy.
Yeah.
Onboard separate from code of conduct.
Yes.
Yes.
Because code of conduct
You could include the code of conduct.
So I would like to suggest maybe like the board consider with the governance committee establishing guidelines that foster organizational health. And organizational health would include, you know, everything that we're talking about, because it also goes to procedures of onboarding and so forth. And I think it becomes more proactive rather than reactive, because we're looking at things that strengthen our organization. I think it's an easier pathway in that way. Maybe just my way of thinking. Maybe an easier pathway to find what it is that's of value. It's a thought. Hope it's not too fuzzy. Maybe.
I want to leave some space for any online people if they want to say anything. If you don't, it's okay too.
I did have a question about the voting. I'm just curious what our membership is at, and then do you set like a threshold? We need X percentage of people to vote before we deem an election, you know, representative, or like how do you go about setting goals for that?
So when I set up an election, I think it's on Election Buddy, excuse me, and all of our members get the Election Buddy link through email. And it's basically like however many people vote is however many people determine who wins the election, if that makes sense.
So what's our membership currently at? And like, do you know how many of the total participated in the past few years?
So I don't know off the top of my head 2017, but I do remember 2019. It was only a small percentage of our members who did vote, which is why I want to maximize voting somehow.
Yeah. I'm just thinking it'd be great to be honest, I don't know what our membership's at. So just like setting some, you know, like baselines and just trying to like set goals so we increase by a certain percentage.
Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, so I can tweak that a little bit. For our elections, we define active members in terms of who can vote as those who have paid their active membership within a year prior to the voting date. And so for those two election time points, 2017, 2019, both were around the same amount of active members, which was around 40 to 50 people. So that's like people who we have actively, you know, made sure of paying their dues. And then within that, in terms of how those who actually voted, awesome. Those that voted, most range from 20 to 30%, which is not, it's not ideal. And that's also kind of, unfortunately, like national statistics on voting too. So getting more people to vote is also important.
So one of my main duties with the organization I work with, we do voter engagement at WashU. So I'd be happy to share some like best practices that we've come up with just in our research on how to increase participation, if that'd be helpful.
That'd be helpful. How much time do we have left? Maybe
Thank you.
Well, I think that'd be a good thing. Maybe that'd be a good action item for later on for Danielle and whoever of us from the team wants to work on this to hear what things have worked for you in the past, Jen.
Sure.
Or we can try to squeeze it out in 2 minutes. Yeah, we'll talk later. I think would be a good sit down session. Sarah?
I'll turn this because I'm in the corner. Hi, Danielle. Oh. I would just like to actually throw my name in. I think I could be really helpful with this and some of what you're trying to do in developing policies and trying to get some of that in place. I think I have some skills that could apply, and I'd be happy to help with that.
I love it.
Sweet.
Gotta remember.
Yeah.
First time. Wow.
Awesome. We have just probably about a minute left. Any last things you wanted to talk about, Danielle?
Just since I'm kind of flying solo here, if everybody could just keep, you know, talking like, hey, you interested in being on the NomCom committee? I don't know if you guys want to mention it once a month or if maybe like I can send out an email once a year or something, whatever works for everybody. as long as we can get the 3 to 5 people, that would be great.
For the last 15 seconds, just so if people don't know, when I'm a committee, we actually like call individual people and walk them through the election process. So it's something that is very important and something that takes time. So one thing that we can all help with that time, and Danielle, I can't remember if I emailed about this, tomorrow morning during the retreat, we're gonna sit down, I'm gonna sit everyone down, and we're gonna try to get everyone to think of at least one person to nominate this year for this year election. The goal will be
Very
3,
nice.
so hopefully we can get a little Kickstarter tomorrow morning.
Yay!
Awesome. All right. Well, that was good time. Thank you, Danielle. Claps, snaps, all that jazz. Do you still want to go next? Were you able to email it? I guess. Oh, you shared it with me on Drive? Oh, perfect. You want to sit over here?
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. We're going to switch things on over to Sydney. Come on down.
I'll swap.
Yeah, no, you can stay there. Do you want to pause the video
Then
on
you
that?
can deal with all this.
I'm going to move over to Sydney's seat. Oh yeah, this screen is still sharing. What I'm talking.
I don't know how his phone, how he has this set up.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm going to be talking about our UN delegation, and I'm primarily going to be talking about COP25, but I also want to note that this year we had Alvaro attend the SBs, or subsidiary bodies of the UNFCCC this year, which carries out the technical aspects of the climate agreements. So that's something else that our UN delegation does. There we go. So this year, Sabina and I led the COP delegation, and we both attended COP last year in Katowice, so we had a good sense of what to expect from a COP, and we created some changes this year to make our delegation more effective and more internal, which I'll dive deeper into. But I think this year was a really crazy COP, just in terms of everything that was going on with the last minute changes and some of the issues in negotiations while we were there. But I think despite all of that, we had a really effective team this year. So I want us to keep us moving on that upward track. But these are all of our delegates this year. So we have Alvaro from Chile, Kirsten from the US, Magda from Germany, Natalie and Nick from the US, Renata from Brazil, Sarah from the US, and Shannon from Ireland. So we're very lucky to have a team of people around the world, and people that have a lot of different skill sets and specialties within the climate change movement. So this year we went for a more internal team. In the past, applications were still open to anyone, but we prioritized active Care About Climate members. In the past, it was more open, and we had a lot more people start with us through the COP learning process and narrow down over time. But this year, we were really selective in picking our team, and for the most part, everyone was involved with Care About Climate prior to our COP process starting. And then the only people that weren't were Kirsten, who's now become our Director of Communications, and Magda, who is also sticking on to do some food systems and EU work for us. So we have great retention rate this year. But yeah, so really great delegation this year. Because we went internal this year and we're really selective in our candidates, we were able to dive much deeper than I think we've been able to in the past. So Sabina and I prepared curriculum for weekly calls from August to December. We talked about policy issues, how to navigate the COP space, and discussed Care About Climate and individual program goals with the delegation. candidates did a lot of really meaningful work leading up into COP. We had everyone promote the use of the climate sign during September youth climate strikes. We had everyone do a community engagement event in their community. So that looks like up there, we had Kirsten, we did a park cleanup with a Girl Scout troop in Indianapolis. Sarah did a green drinks event. A couple of us wrote op-eds. So people this year really committed to talking about, care about climate, the UN negotiations, and climate change in general with their communities. We also had delegates write a lot of articles, blog posts about UN policy issues, and we really dove deep into policy this year. And each delegate also produced their own action plan. So Sabina and I worked with individuals to figure out their goals and how we could best support them. So everyone this year really committed strongly, and I think people were able to walk away having achieved some of those goals. We also, for the second year, operated our Sign for Change storytelling campaign. So you can see Magda's submission down there, but basically we solicited climate sign photos, artwork, letters to negotiators from people around the world, and I'll dive deeper into that on the next slide. But as you all know, the location of COP this year changed like 1 month leading into COP from Santiago to Chile, and I think everyone really responded well to that. And we were very lucky to have Alvaro, who had some inside knowledge and was able to help us navigate some of that uncertainty. So this year at COP, we focused on women and gender issues, Article 6, which deals with carbon markets and human rights, NDCs, which are individual country commitments to reducing emissions, and ACE, which deals with UN climate education policy. And this year we put in a really strong effort leading up to COP to get Care About Climate as many opportunities as possible, which helped us spread our programs. So this is, I'm just gonna run through some of the events we were able to put on, but Sarah and Renata put together an event about building partnerships for youth capacity building. Renata had an official side event for Empodera Clima, which is a very big deal. And it took the form of panelists discussing gender and climate justice, especially in the global South. We were also able to, if you see in the picture up there with me, Kirsten and Nick and Magda, we were able to get a booth where for 2 days we exhibited Sign for Change submissions. So we had a dozen plus countries represented in these submissions. I gave an interview to a Chinese media organization about these submissions. We partnered with a larger art agency to showcase climate-centric artworks submitted by youth around the world. And we were also able to deliver the US letters to US negotiators. So Sign for Change was even more effective this year. Alvaro spoke on numerous panels about education, including an event where he got to speak before Spanish and Chilean government officials, which you see down there. I spoke on a panel about the role of universities and students in creating a carbon-free world. Natalie met with the US congressional delegation. So everyone had a great opportunity, I think, to showcase their specific skills, and everyone worked within our various constituencies to contribute to actions, policy positions, and official statements. I'm not going to dive into the COP outcomes because you can read all of our blog posts and newsletters about COP, and Sabina and I are also working on an internal report to dive deeper into some of that stuff. But I will conclude here with what I think are. So in the next couple of months, I want to explore options for developing an online course in the climate negotiations. One of the big takeaways from our delegation this year was people need as much knowledge as possible about UN specific stuff going into this. Knowing about climate adaptation in general is not at all the same as like knowing where adaptation negotiations stand and how you can influence that. I also recently talked to Beth Martin at WashU, who's the Ringo focal point, and leads the WashU delegation there, and I was able to take her course specifically in negotiations, and she's been interested for a while in having her students connect with our delegates and some of our partners around the world. So I think we have a window of opportunity here to figure out what a COP education course could look like, and that also would potentially be an opportunity to create some revenue if we were able to consult for other organizations and individualize the curriculum to them. I also want to, in the next couple of months, re-examine the role of Sign for Change with regard to the climate sign and explore options and partnerships for building out a bigger storytelling campaign. So that includes organizations I talked with at COP who are interested in this. Also, Sarah's projects, finding different ways we can make this a more effective storytelling campaign. And then I also want to examine linkages between climate sign and our Fresh Climate Ambassadors program, because I think just in speaking to people at COP, there are a lot of opportunities to connect people doing UN work with our other programs. And then by COP26, which is in Glasgow this year in November, I think it would be great if we could have a draft online course, at least for internal use, and have a strong storytelling campaign rolling by September so that we have those submissions ready for COP. But those are my basic next steps for the program.
Thank you.
Woo!
Love it, Danielle. Cool. Awesome. We have some points already. We'll hit up Natalie, Logan, and then Jeff.
I definitely think the Moodle is going to be an opportunity, and I hope we can get Sarah to show how the Moodle platform works for the online course. And since we're going to be paying for it, we should just use that. Yes. And I'll grow Mike jump in and like also kind of show us what they're doing on the thing. I guess my question is, so at least, well, this is like, it's an opinion question. Yes. My opinion is that COP is really hard to do alone, and I don't think it's sustainable for Sabina to be your co-lead anymore. So I was wondering what your thoughts were on potentially getting you another co-lead and how you want that process to work if you want that to happen. So that is, I guess, like one of the things that I'm thinking about and have questions about. Yes. That wasn't on here. So
no, I think that's a big thing. I just think, realistically, it's not going to be possible for me to do it alone. Like we need to find someone that can help, because I think even just doing stuff this year, I think it was almost too much for me this year, and so next year it's going to be harder.
Okay, so I'll put it to do that we need to just like come up with a process to find it.
Can I just add, I think I said this on a call before, but whenever we do find, either has to be like very well vetted academically in terms of processes, or has to have gone. Because if I hadn't gone to the SPs before, I would have been able to lead it, and like Sydney was there the prior year. So one form of experience or another. Almost, like non-negotiable.
Yes.
Thing.
Yes.
Or someone who's willing to go to the SPs and do the same thing I did.
Yeah.
So a couple different.
Logan?
I mean, what I said was a little bit, or what I wanted to say was a little bit covered by Natalie. But I think the idea of having a online course with regards to like COP, the educational side, is really interesting. It seems like Moodle is the primary way that is going to be hosted. But if anybody has, or specifically have ideas for like, oh, you want like a multimedia aspect, or you want like some way to handle having people like integrating outside of Moodle, there are plenty of services that can help you with that. So
yes, no, I think that would be good. And like if we did try to partner with the WashU group that does it, like they have talked about in the past finding some way for our delegates to even take that course. So I think if there's some multimedia opportunity where, right, we could bring someone in to, lead a lesson for our delegation.
How long is the course?
Semester.
Oh.
Yes, and actually now she has a semester post COP to just do follow up on COP. So yeah, yeah.
Jeff?
Is C40 still alive?
Yeah.
Okay.
I work with C40 for
Thank you.
networks.
So everybody knows what C40 is.
No.
You work with C40. Tell
A
us what
little bit,
C40
but I just know that
I would.
it's a group of cities
Yes.
that commit to climate action.
Around the world.
Around the world. Yeah, it started with 40, but it's going
Yeah.
to more than that.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Right. So the reason I raised C40 is that there's this infrastructure of sub-regional actors around the world, and so and they're all on the same page. And what I would like to see us consider is recruiting somebody, the appropriate person to partner with you, who's already been to COP, who's inside C40, because we need to engage C40. We already have, but not as part of C40. We need to engage C40 straight up. And this is our opportunity to do that and help us make that course what it is and see what they've been doing and start blending it. I will help in whatever way you'd like. End of story. Thank you.
Does anyone here know people in C4, like other, you know? more
I
people
know
in
some
C40?
people in Brazil. They work for the UK because I work for the British consulate. So.
Oh, well, it's too bad we're not working with somebody. Well, we are working with somebody from the UK. Could we help SOS? Could SOS tell us who they're working with in C40? Good. Webbing. Peter Parker. Thank you, Uncle Ben.
Good point. Any other questions or thoughts or brainstorming things? People online, anyone need some time to say something?
Yeah, I'll just say thank you to all three of you who have presented so far. It's been so informative. And specifically for Sydney, I'm about to have to sign off for the night. But if there's any way I can help since I'm still at WashU, I know Beth Martin really well, and she's one of my heroes in life. So if there's anything I could facilitate as someone on campus, just let me know. Or, if I can do additional storytelling and just highlight that connection over time. But I'm just so excited about this work, and I hate that I have to leave, but I've got to take care of my baby.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye, Jen.
I love it when we invest in the next generation.
I thought it was great, Sydney. The only comment I have is I wanted to make sure you got both of my pictures. I don't know exactly what it was for, but I sent a couple pictures to the WhatsApp a while ago for your, I think it was Strike for Climate. I'm not sure. I apologize. I don't remember what it was for. But I wanted to make sure you got the two pictures, way back in the day.
Sorry, what was the question? Sorry,
no, it's okay. I sent 2 pictures on the WhatsApp to contribute to your letters and pictures and comments, and I just wanted to make sure you got them in the scheme of all things.
Yes, I will double check that we have, and we're still in the process of posting some of those submissions we've gotten. So we will make sure we've got yours.
Perfect.
If there's that. Oh wait,
go ahead. No, you go ahead. They're all good. You go ahead.
Oh, okay. We've talked about this on the feedback sessions that we've had after COP for the delegation. But something I think would be interesting for you to have concrete meeting. I know that there was a big difference between week 1 and week 2 because I think Kirsten was on week 2, right? So she did a lot in terms of week 2 recap, but then we didn't have a week 1 recap posted on social media. So it would be nice this year for us to do something that, even though there's different people attending different weeks, the people outside same thing. There's a linear path. I think that would be good. I don't know if it's worth maybe appointing someone within the delegation to handle it. Just to have them.
Cool. I had a kind of general question, kind of as someone who's unfortunately been really periphery to COP now for a while, and kind of I think also kind of a way as board people we can start how we can ask the right questions. I think COP is one of our like people look at COP and that's like a huge thing for Care About Climate. That's like, I think one of the things giving us the biggest credibility right now and has been for a long time. So I think it's really important and vital that we make sure it's super strong and continues to be that way. So I know there's a lot of growth right now with the course and the link to climate ambassadors. So my only question with like making sure our foundation is really strong is, how do you all feel about the amount of people we send to COP, and if you all think that's a good number that you all have been doing, and if there's any discussion about that?
Yes, I just don't know what, like, in terms of getting more than that, I just don't know if that is at all possible. I mean, in terms of
or should there be more, or what we have is perfect?
There's basically, there's almost no way we're going to get more badges than we currently have. Like this year, what we got was also due to the fact that Sarah and Alvaro were actually on Chilean government badges. So we definitely can't send more than like the 9 people that ended up going. And if we do less, then it's unlikely that we would ever get as many badges again. That's just like the complicated technical piece of it.
Yeah, we essentially have no control, but as long as we keep numbers high, they will theoretically keep giving us the same amount of badges. We went up by 1 this year, but who knows?
Is there like a
what if
theory?
we should try working with other organizations that don't necessarily want to get involved with COP, but could submit an application to get a badge or 2?
The amount of work that goes into getting UN accredited is beyond what anyone is willing to do. They're not sending people.
No, like I think
a crazy amount of paperwork.
Yeah, like I think it's fine for us to have like 1 or 2 people that are like on a wait list, because yes, sometimes organizations that are already deeply involved in COP, you know, end up losing a person for that time or whatever. Sometimes badges do become available, but yeah, I wouldn't ever, yes, I think this number of people approximately is where we're realistically going to be at.
I think it's a good number because it's like enough people that everyone can kind of do their own thing, but still small enough that like everyone knows what everyone's doing. And if you have more than I think 4 or 5 people a week, that becomes that's year.
Yeah, I was just curious if there was a theoretical goal that you all wanted, or if this was kind of where we want to be.
It's all up to the UN.
I confess that despite having been inside COP once, I have never really understood how NGOs can actually influence the outcomes of the negotiations. All it seems to me that they can do is ask the negotiators to do something else, and they can always just tell us no. So I think now not denied, but I definitely want to get that understanding of how that is done.
I think that's a very common feeling for a lot of people, but we can definitely talk about that. I think once we wrap up, because we're at 3 minutes left. But I felt that way. I felt not that way, and it's like a whole thing.
Yes.
That's a way with like constituencies and things.
Yes.
Yes. I noticed that with the constituency a lot. They influence a lot. For you, it's little less.
Yeah.
Just because naturally we have, exactly.
And I would just point out that the negotiators don't know how to have the negotiators negotiate sometimes either. So I think that, you know, as we've seen, it's a complex field, there's a lot of openings. So,
And the policy.
but I've been there, and you all have. So.
The policy isn't the only thing that comes out of COP, right? There's media attention, there's marches at
Civil society engagement.
Yeah.
It's not just policy, like that's a factor, but there's a lot more.
Layers of influence. Good question.
Any other comments or even concerns from you all, people in charge of this, that you're worried about upcoming issues?
Funding is always an issue.
Yeah.
Significant issue. Significant barrier.
In a weird way, we almost got lucky this year.
Yeah.
In that, because we had this crisis, we were more forceful with our asks.
Yes.
And I think if we put that same forcefulness behind every ask in coming years, it's like a good way of like, it was a good reinforcing message that we can fundraise if we have to.
What's a good
Depends where it is. If it's in, you know,
Almost going, right?
if it's in Glasgow, it's going to be way more money than if it's in America.
Yeah.
So we want 8, we're hoping for 7 people.
Yeah.
So
I'd say 10. I'd say plan for
That's a
10.
great amount.
okay, so we should be thinking
I agree with that.
$30,000.
It's good to have those
theory.
numbers. It's good to have those numbers.
Yeah.
I would suggest that if we're able to bridge with C40, that we should really bridge with them. And they would have money. If they want to partner with us, they can help us to grow. We can help them also. Just a thought. It's a nice thought, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a good thought.
It would be great to not have to include on the application a checkbox that says, I understand and care about climate. Which we currently do.
Yeah.
And any money is a bonus, right? And that is definitely.
Natalie?
Yep.
Do you have a sense that we're strong enough now to actually partner with C40?
I question it. I also need to look at C40 more.
Okay.
Because I don't know. Maybe. I mean, possibly.
It's worth looking at.
It's worth looking at, but I also want to make sure they're on like our level too, of like where we want to go.
Understand.
I just don't.
I use them as an instance. If that's not the right X, then we'll find another one, but it's that pathway.
Right. Yep.
Any last thoughts for the final 30 seconds? Anyone online? Super.
Thank you, Sydney. I think even on deck, but does anyone want to go next?
Cool.
We want to take a break for it so that we can get people online. How many programs do we have left? Is it just
We're not on Logan.
Oh. Okay.
And then also Sarah Bosca, I think, emailed me hers. Let me see if hers on there.
Oh, she's joining?
Well, no, I think she recorded
Oh,
for OIE. Let me.
cool.
She said she's going to. You're good. You're okay. Let me see if let's say if Sarah didn't email me.
Hi.
I think she sent it. David.
Yeah.
David, she sent it. She sent a link to the recording in the WhatsApp group.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay. Well, let's somehow get that on. You have your WhatsApp online?
Yes.
Can you like email it? Well, since we have that, do we want Aaron and Danielle? Are you okay if we take a quick 5-10 minute break to go back?
Here.
Never mind, Natalie vetoed that. Never mind.
David, chat.
Okay. It's in the chat.
I just put it in the chat.
Oh, cool. I just want to make sure it's. Oh.
You have to sign in with your, yeah.
You have listed speakers at the beginning.
Ah, okay. It's like,
Oh, that's awesome.
huh?
So nice of her. Well, how about we do this? You be on deck, and then your deck. What?
On deck?
I really like deck though.
Deck goose.
I am the
Deck goose.
Happy to go.
All right.
Deck bear.
Cool.
Sarah's awesome.
Yeah. And Aaron or Danielle, as we hit play on this, can you let us know if you hear it? Because I don't know if the audio transfers over through this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can take
I
them
will
off.
let you know.
All right, here we go.
Hello, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be at the retreat this weekend, but I'm excited to present the Online Youth Exchange.
Can you all hear that? Cool.
Yes.
Do we want to wait for our two friends real quick to come back?
No.
I think go for it.
Cool.
It's like 20 minutes.
So,
17.
just to introduce our team, we have 6 people who are currently working hard to put together the Online Youth Exchange 5.0, which will be our first time using an online, open online course. So we're really excited. I've been involved with Care About Climate since 2016 when Care About Climate adopted the online youth exchange program. It was previously with Sierra Student Coalition, but I'll get into that in a little bit. And so I've been with it since the start. Pradeep joined the following year. And so he has been working on our team, primarily putting together our glossary terms and definitions. He's got a great background in consulting with municipalities as they adapt to climate change. Alvaro has been with us for the past 3 years. His role is as a, he's on the call today with us, but his role is as a curriculum developer. His background is in education in Chile, and so he has a great understanding of how to develop lesson plans to create those learning objectives and realize them as we need to make this course productive. Adrian Watson has also been with us for 3 years. He is from Jamaica and is primarily involved in nature-based solutions and social enterprises. So that's really the forte that he brings to the table in this production. Adama was in our program last year. That was his first year in the program. So he's our newest member. And Adama is working on doing all the formatting and some of the more tedious work for putting together the online youth exchange coursework, especially the PowerPoint presentations. Michelle has been was in online youth exchange the past 2 years. I graduated with her from University of Wisconsin Parkside in sustainable management. She actually studied at I think she was at University of Wisconsin River Falls. Anyways, her background is now she's working as a sustainability coordinator for a national bakery chain that is family owned, and so they brought her on to help with some of the EPA reporting as well as sustainability initiatives within the operations. Online youth exchange has grown over the past years.
Hi, sorry, just wanted to pause us for a second to say hi to Kirsten, who's just hopped on. Do you want to say hi, Kirsten?
Hey guys, I don't know why my video is not starting, but I miss you all. Hope everything's going well. Did not mean to interrupt, just wanted to eavesdrop and talk to you guys because I love you all.
Hi, Kirsten.
Hi.
You're doing awesome stuff.
Yes.
Thank you. It's been really fun. I have a lot of really cool updates to share with you guys. And I also wanted people's opinions on various things, and I wanted to include you guys here because I feel like I'm making unilateral decisions and it's not really my style, and I just want to make sure that I'm representing Care About Climate to the best that I possibly can.
Yes. Natalie says you're so cool.
All right. Thanks, Natalie. You're cool too, and everyone here says that you're awesome. So not that I didn't already know that, but
Awesome. Well, we're just going through Sarah's presentation real quick, and then we have Renata and Logan will be our final presentations for tonight.
Nice. Nice. I will silently creep.
Excellent.
Help with some of the EPA reporting as well as sustainability initiatives within the operations. Online youth exchange has grown over the past years, but basically what it works to is it's an environmental leadership training that brings people together for community, for networking, for sharing best practices, and for leadership development. Over the past 4 years of the course, we've had participation from a number of countries around the world. I want to say about 50 to 60 countries. And so on every continent but Antarctica, we've had participation from Renata and Alvaro in South America, representing Chile and Brazil. Really high concentrations of participation throughout sub-Saharan Africa, as well as that kind of the Cape area, as well as in the MENA region. Our participation within Europe has been fairly low considering the demographics or the dynamics of some of our participation in Youngo, but I think that's really based off of the course model and the contents. And then of course, China has been our historic partner through China Youth Climate Action Network. And so we've always had a hearty participation from Chinese participants. And then in island nations, and Australia, we've had some participants. In terms of press, we were featured on the China government TV channel, their English site, when we participated at IYSEC, CYCAN's annual meeting in 2016. Just this past year, COP25, we were interviewed by March for Science, which was featured on their Facebook page. That was an interview that was done with Alvaro, one of our past participants, Shreya, and I. And then at the Capacity Building Hub, we also presented on that this past year, COP25. Here's a couple of those examples. The left and top pictures are both from when we were in China at IYSEC, and that's pretty up on the top. Now, in terms of putting the project together and what it entails and what it's looked like over the years, because we are in a transition period right now, it has been a chain of feedback loops and loop-de-loops. So through the years, in year one, we started in 2015 in the lead up to COP21 in Paris. Sierra Student Coalition, which is a branch of the Sierra Club, teamed up with CYCAN to reach the following goals: connecting across borders, learning through collaboration, and acting with broad support to push their countries to sign the Paris Agreement. We had 30 youth who participated, including Jack Turner, who's now on our board, and Natalie Lucas and I. We were put in trios. There were 2 Chinese youth and 1 US youth. It was only those two countries who were participating. And there was very little structure. So people were asked to watch a video or read an article together and then just kind of talk about it. So the next year we transformed it. Sierra Club ended up discontinuing the program. And so Natalie picked it up and transitioned it over to CAC, and that's where I came in. So we introduced live webinars each month by participants in order to share environmental issues, solutions, and strategies, and to have more bulk to the content so that there was a real topic to discuss amongst our partners. We did continue with the partnership, so we had pairs this year, and it was an international program. So we had probably 20 countries participate in that second year, 60 youth participated, so we doubled our capacity. And people were expected to attend 6 of the webinars and present once. Over the summer following that year, CYCAN invited 5 OIEers as well as myself to their annual meeting in Tianjin, China. They paid for expenses. And there we presented what you saw in the previous slide about our press. And then we also developed a 5-year plan, which commenced in this program being moved to a MOOC format, which is where we're at now, which is super exciting. In year 3, 2017, we increased the quantity of webinars to 3 times a month, again, by participants, same content basically, and we introduced mentors to supervise small groups and provide guidance. These mentors were typically comprised of OIE alumni. We had 90 youth, so we were again growing again, and people were put in groups of 4. The pairs we had some issues with, which I'll get into next. And again, they had basically the same requirements, except they were also supposed to work with their mentor and their partners on a project that they could execute locally. We tried to pair people based on similar interests. So if there were a couple people who were all focused on waste management or air pollution, they'd be paired together so that they could brainstorm ways to work on those projects. Last year, our most recent year, we had weekly webinars, so we up to 4 times a month. 3 of those were by participants, and then 1 time a month we would have a webinar from a series. The first series was on COP, so we could prepare people for the annual conference. The second series was on ecosystem services, talking about some of those nature-based solutions that people could implement. And then the third was on economics and how we transform our economy to be more circular. We introduced monthly homework assignments that helped develop those project plans, so giving a little more structure to what that project could be, though it really increased the workload. Pairs were put into small groups of 10 under mentor supervision to further diffuse the and delegate the roles. And we had 120 participants. Now, some of the issues that we had, the first year was primarily time difference. It was a 13-hour time difference between most places in the United States and Beijing, and that proved an issue. Third wheeling two of the people in the groups would connect, and a third person it just didn't work as well. Without direction for the conversations and a lack of structure, many people fell off. As well as after COP, we achieved it, and there was a lack of initiative to continue along. Year 2, it was difficult finding those webinar hosts and helping people that were in pairs reconnect if their pair dropped out and they felt abandoned. And then again, that lack of follow-up with participants as we scaled up. Third, we worked on delegating responsibilities to kind of fix some of those issues from year 2. But then we were having issues with having real learning objectives to keep people committed to the program throughout and make sure that our webinars weren't in vain. In our 4th year, we worked on scaling up and how we could continue to accommodate more and more youth participants with these big asks of them as well as of our mentors and the time commitment it took to complete the homework assignments. The live webinars were always a really key part of the program, and people really loved them. It was a great opportunity to get a group climate sign at the end as well. And we shared on a number of topics ranging from waste management through leadership development. Oops. Some of the quotes and feedback I've gotten from past participants are shown here. We had really great results from the program with select people. Unfortunately, our retention rates were not as high as we would like, especially given the commitment and time that was invested in each participant and in the program. That's something we hope to improve through this transition. In the end, we feel that we did manage to connect across borders, learn through collaboration, and act with broad support throughout the program. I'm going to show you now what the new course will look like, and we'll get started with that. We'll come back to this.
17.
Yeah.
So what we've been working on over here is this is our Moodle website. Moodle is a online course software similar to like a Blackboard or Canvas that Alvaro found for us as a tool to be able to share course content. This will require a certain degree of budget of funding to be able to support the number of participants that we've had historically in the program. Let me just run you through it. So as students enter the course, this is what they'll see. They'll be able to go under announcements to see any announcements of Sign for Change activities or different campaigns that we're announcing, as well as further information on homework assignments. When they go into Module 1, they'll be able to see everything they need to complete the course, which start with a presentation, which somehow ended up here, which they'll be able to download and open. They'll then go to our glossary, where they can see terms and definitions related to climate change. They'll watch a short video, either from YouTube or from one of our partner organizations. And then they'll participate in our discussion forum, where they'll share about a little bit about themselves and be able to connect and have that community with other participants. Finally, they'll participate in a quiz, at least once a course, probably not each lesson. And then there's a homework assignment that they'll have to participate in. So here's what the first course, Module 1 homework assignment looks like, asking them to connect basic terms to their range of knowledge. We are really excited to new course will look like and be able to increase engagement with our participants in a manner that will be able to scale to accommodate hundreds of participants with much less time commitment by our mentors and instructors. This will reduce the amount of efforts that put into the onboarding of new course participants and also help funnel new volunteers towards our Climate Ambassador program and other campaigns who care about climate. Now, what's next? What will it take us to launch? There's just a little bit left to do. So we're working right now on finalizing the course material. Alva was working on creating additional lesson learning objectives for each module, which will increase the productivity and in tracking of each course. We're also working on having the program welcome built out so that we can onboard people onto understand what online youth exchange is, what to expect from the courses, and how to participate further with Care About Climate and our other programs. We'll have some marketing to do. And then with each course, we still have a couple things left to figure out. With course 1, it's almost, we're getting really close to it. All our presentations are done. We're working on getting those videos finalized and homework assignments, and then just tweaking the grading rubrics. With course 2, we still have the whole fleet to do. The PowerPoint for module 1 is almost done. We've got module 1's pretty good. Module 2 will be mostly Renata. 3 will be done by Adrian. 4 will be by Adrian, and 3 we're still working on who's going to assume responsibility. That might be like a Pradeep or Natalie or Michelle. Course 3, haven't even touched that one. In course 4. If you're interested in looking in accessing the site, you'd have to go to oye.moodlecloud.com. Once we pay for a Moodle account, that will be, we can change that to a personalized site a URL. And then for people to learn more about it, they can sign up at tinyurl.com/onlineyouth. What we're still looking for are instructors, video producers, reviewers, marketing support, fundraising support, academic partners who can help promote this program in their classrooms, and forum managers. Finally, if I just pull this over, here is what our curriculum outline looks like. So you can read what the program aims to do. And then each of the 4 courses we have, starting with Understand the Baseline, the one you just looked at, which is an introduction to climate science and climate change. Course 2 is Developing a Sustainable Economy and Economic Perspective of the Climate Change Problem. Course 3 is Becoming an Effective Actor, Empowering Youth to Climate Action. And that course is the one that's going to really prepare those project plans for our climate ambassadors. And then the 4th one is going to bring it full circle as that feedback loop for the climate ambassadors as assessing success. How do you know when you've made a difference? If you have any further questions, Alvaro is here to answer them, and thanks for listening.
Even though she's not here, she'll hear this recording later. Thank you, Sarah.
Woo! Go, Sarah!
Was that Kirsten? Or was that? Anyone like to talk? And we'll take some good.
Can I add a couple things? Sorry. So I talk with Sarah weekly about this. So I've been pretty hands-on with this, but I think the one place that we need to like work on is going to be like basically the need to figure out the climate ambassador piece. So this course is supposed to essentially get them prepared for being climate ambassador with us, because that was one of the things we were struggling with, was providing the folks with enough mentorship to be able to like do that effectively, so they could go out and like do programs on their own. So that's what this is supposed to be. So they have to only go through course 3, they can start the project, and then after that they go into course 4 to do evaluation. And so that's just, we need someone to help run and manage climate ambassadors ultimately. Once this course starts running, that's going to be like a huge need. And then I've been helping pretty significantly with trying to like make courses and stuff. But if any of you want to like do videos and like help find readings and help with any of this, there's definitely room for that for sure. Because this is a huge lift. So Sarah and Albert have done amazing work on it. But this is a platform we can use for like CAC.
Yeah.
Or if you wanted to do a course specifically on gender issues.
Yeah, because I see it's more like social injustice.
Yeah.
It's more general, which is great.
It's super
But
high
then we could
level,
also
but we
do.
could go deep.
Is there a timeline? I'm not sure if Sarah mentioned it. For when this will be launched.
We're hoping to launch within like the next month or so for the first course.
Okay.
But like we still need to make the second course and stuff, so it's like hopefully the whole series. Right now, not so much. Jeff?
So I would encourage us to think about what we had discussed earlier today about where we see ourselves in 5 years. Because the way we get to where we might go in 5 years is to start working on a path. Which is to say, if this is a platform that's going to be viable, be developed and think about who it is that should be engaged with us and kind of work both ends towards, work the future towards the present. So work towards like who we think we should engage, like with Renata, again, as an example, but not the other person who would be, who we could start to plug into this kind of process that's running alongside us. Does this make sense? Okay, good. That was it.
Any other comments or questions? I have some, but I'll wait. Couple general, I'm blown away by this. I haven't seen any of this. I've only heard about it. This is unbelievable. This is like so good. What you, Sarah, Alvaro, and all those other people that have helped with this. And I'm sure Sabina's helped as well too. This is amazing. This like looks, this could become something so amazing. It's something that already is amazing, which is OIE. This is a cool future thing that's already here and present. Like, this is awesome.
Are these courses all free?
That was part of my next question. Was really that, yeah.
They are right now. If we could theoretically start restricting access to certain folks and asking for funds, but we definitely want to make sure it's free for folks who couldn't afford it.
Right, so you consider graduated scale pricing.
Right.
It could be an option, like once they sign up, like you have.
Yeah, I think we have to figure it out. I don't know. Right now, all of it's free. And we just need to figure, like, one of the things that we've been really struggling, and that's why we like reformatted the curriculum and what courses we want, is like measuring success of like what people actually are doing once they get out of online youth exchange. And so that's actually why we wanted to put people through the program, have them run their projects, and then teach them how to manage, like measure, so that we can kind of claim their work in some ways, in like a nice way.
Residual value there.
Yes. Yeah. And it helps them be able to tell their stories more effectively about how they're doing as well. So it's a both end situation. And then hopefully that can help like get funders who can help support this, and like, because no one's paid in it right now, and we desperately need someone to help manage it, like probably professionally producing, because it's a lot. And not working.
Are you thinking about grants for this?
Yeah.
Because I think it would be a great conversation.
Yeah.
What's your time, Jeff?
So we've been about 7 minutes on discussion and 17 minutes on video. So about done for 25 minutes.
Oh, we're about done. Okay. Quick thing to float on, or really last quick question, sorry, I apologize. If people already, like us level people and care about climate, once the course gets going, if any of us should, it can be twofold. If any of us should like to take it, A, to make sure there's any gaps and there's a lot we can learn, and B, we could also serve as a sounding board for finding things that, oh, hey, I saw this should be like this.
That would be awesome.
You know, we should, drink the water we're serving. I don't know, whatever.
Test the product.
That's a better way of saying it.
Yeah, there are a lot of cool
I would love to take
implications of
this. It'd be cool to take.
And like we talked about before, like other universities, like to present this as something to some of the places we already know.
Yeah.
Office of Sustainability.
Yeah.
Be a great place to start.
Gee, it would be nice to be like, a connection to, I don't know, oh, we do.
We have a lot of places that this could be. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sarah.
Yay,
Sarah and Alvaro. All right.
Second.
How are the
Renata.
and Renata? Maybe we should check in with our online participants and see where they are.
Second.
Yes. We took too long of a break today.
Should we check in with them just for?
Yeah.
Should we check in with those folks? and see what-
It looks like we just have Erin and
I will
Danielle.
do want to stay up forever and be with us.
But we can also record them.
We could record it and you can watch it later.
What would you guys like? Can you hear us?
They've been on for a while.
They can't hear us.
We need to cook
They're
it.
staring.
Danielle's been on like all day.
Can you hear us, Aaron and Danielle?
Unfortunately,
I can hear you.
We were.
It's a little bit in and out, but yeah.
Okay, we're potentially thinking about breaking really quickly before the last two presentations.
Not breaking for
Breaking for like an hour and a half, probably.
I think we should just record it.
This is all being recorded anyway, but
It would be great to have you.
we would love to have you here if you can, but we also don't want to stretch. You all have already stretched yourselves as much a bunch today as is, so just wanted to see how you all felt about that.
So what exactly are the options?
What Dave is saying is that we're going to reconvene after dinner. Did you want to join us then? Or do you want to see the video?
Hi, Jeff.
What would you guys like?
I am probably going to get started on dinner, so I will catch you guys later.
All right.
Thanks, Danielle. It was great to have you.
You're welcome. It was great to see you guys. Bye.
Bye, Danielle.
Bye.
Let me know when y'all reconvene, and I'll try to hop back on.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
We've appreciated how much you've been on, Aaron.
Thanks, Erin. Thanks, Erin.
Good to talk to you. Later.
Bye.
We get an ender.
I have to do
You can stop the recording for now on Zoom.
Maybe so we don't record
Down here. Or the up, that's it, yeah.
All right.
All right.
Okay. There's Brazilian chocolate over here and stickers for everyone. Get them.
Are you trying to bribe us?
Yes.
I don't see any chocolate.
Oh.
Wait, Erin, what do you see right now? You see me? Oh, you don't need to.
Do you see the? Oh, you don't need to.
You don't need to see me.
You don't need to. Wait,
Oh,
why
there.
are they seeing? Oh, it's here.
Oh,
They're seeing me.
oh.
Is that right? Are they supposed to see me doing the
I can.
presentation?
I can. Yeah, up to you.
Okay.
Sorry,
okay,
I'm trying to figure out. There we go.
Oh, there's two of me now. That's too much. That was not necessary.
Okay.
Which one?
Okay, now.
No, but
that
then they're just seeing me. Okay, that's fine. Two.
It's up to you.
Are we still doing the 10-minute limit?
Yes.
Just to make sure I can show my video
You can show
afterwards.
We won't count the video.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, can I start? Can I start?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so finally doing my presentation on Empodera Clima. As you all know, it's a new program that was launched April 22nd of last year, 2019. So before starting the presentation, which is basically a recap of what we did in 2019, some stats, features, and then plans for this year. I just want to show the intro video. That it's so beautiful. I love it for the program.
I'll pause.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Natalie, and I'm from the United States. Hola, soy Álvaro y soy chileno. Do you know what gender has to do with climate change?
Tem muito a ver. Meninas e mulheres são muito mais vulneráveis às mudanças climáticas do que outros grupos.
En este Día de la Tierra, la ONG Care About Climate está lanzando un nuevo proyecto llamado Empodera Clima. Un proyecto para concientizar sobre la vulnerabilidad que el cambio climático produce en cientos de mujeres y niñas. As well as the need for female
Female Leadership in Climate Action. Essa nova plataforma vai ser online, com a compilação de materiais de igualdade de gênero e mudanças climáticas em 3 idiomas: português, English, e em espanhol. All of us that care about climate want the theme of gender and climate change to be a topic that is widely discussed by youth worldwide.
Para llevar adelante este proyecto, estamos compilando documentos, videos, podcasts y también produciremos material original de mujeres que están trabajando para combatir el cambio climático.
Empoderar-se é ter conhecimento, e por isso o Empodera Clima vai trazer esse conteúdo e tornar ele acessível a todos, contribuindo para a justiça climática.
The new platform of Empodera Clima is being launched April 22nd, which is Earth Day.
Celebremos el Día de la Tierra repartiendo esta noticia, el lanzamiento de Empodera Clima.
Pode ser com um amigo, um membro da família ou pelas redes sociais.
We will only defend human rights from climate change with everyone's help. That includes youth from the Global South.
Juntos, Empodera Clima, porque todos nós nos importamos com o clima. We all care about climate.
Yay! I love this video. We did it in like 2 days.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh wait, how do I go back to
David's editing skills, man.
I know.
That's the hardest thing I've ever edited. For picture, the hardest thing.
Okay, great. So I'm not going to introduce the program because that video basically summarizes the whole thing. But yeah, it is an educational platform with interlanguages with all kinds of content about gender and climate action. So just so you have an idea about the creation of the logo, which was, I think you proposed it, right? It was Natalie who proposed it. And it's beautiful. I love it. So it's basically a combination of SDG 5 of the 2030 agenda and the climate science. Okay, so I'm just gonna run through what we did in 2019. As you've seen in the video, on April 22nd, we launched the platform. And then there was a few things that we did throughout the year. I highlighted a few of them. So in May, we had the online youth exchange webinar, because as you might also know, I started Empodera Clima as part of being a mentee in the OIE program. So we did a webinar from a draft project to launch. So it was basically a lot of advice on how to start your own project. So that was our first basically public introduction about Empodera Clima. And then in June, I attended the Global Landscapes Forum in Bonn, which I will talk about a little more later. In July, we had the Youth for Nature webinar. You might know Youth for Nature, but they're also a fairly recent organization, and they were doing webinars on all kinds of things related to youth work and climate action. And this particular webinar was in Portuguese, so I presented Empodera Clima in Portuguese in July. And then in October, I attended the Action for Climate Empowerment high-level event in Austria. I attended as a representative of Youngo, but I also presented Empodera Clima there, which was really awesome. And I'll also explain more about that later. And then December, as you all know, there was COP, which was, I think, our biggest highlight. So as I mentioned, the Global Landscapes Forum was that Empodera Clima officially attended. So Alvaro was there and I was there also. And I was fortunate enough to attend this workshop about youth in landscapes called A Just Future, Social Justice in a Changing Climate. And I presented Empodera Clima to all the young people there. And that was also really nice because I think we were a month into the project and we got a lot of positive responses. So that was a big landmark, I think, for the program in the beginning. And then I also was coincidentally the Master of Ceremonies for the Global Landscapes Forum. So that was a way that I also showcased Empodera Clima to over, I think, 800 people that were there. So that was really cool too.
Yeah.
And then the other big event that we were at was the International Symposium and High-Level event on ACE, Action for Climate Empowerment. That was basically an event for negotiators and people within the UNFCCC or countries working in education and action for climate empowerment, which was one of the agenda items of the Paris Agreement. So I was there as Youngo, but I had a chance to deliver an intervention and I mentioned care about climate and gender and Empodera Clima. So it was also a highlight of our work during our first year, which was really awesome. And then COP25, as I said before, was a huge highlight for sure. We did a lot of work for that, and it was also the first time that besides me, there was also a volunteer that went to COP, which was Shannon, you also might know. And our main focus for COP was the daily recaps that we did, and you can check them out on the websites, Empodera Clima-COP25.
And basically we did summaries of days 1 through 6, so first week of COP, on everything related to gender, whether that was the negotiations, the civil society events, the actions that happened, basically so that people that weren't there could have an idea of what happens there in terms of human rights work, gender work, and youth work. We also did a tab on COP25 highlights, so events that we also did, like the one that I did with Sarah, that I also presented in Poder Clima, and a review of the Gender Action Plan, which is being posted soon, hopefully. And then the other part of COP25 was the engagement and networking. As I mentioned, we were part of the second capacity building hub and delivered a speech on Poder Clima. I also was fortunate enough to do an interview for the UNFCCC Climate Action Studio. Basically, they invite multiple people, leaders from different areas in climate, to speak about their work. So that's also online in their YouTube account. They can check it out. And another big focus for COP25 was our participation in the constituency meetings, both Yangon and the gender constituency. And the reason for that is because besides just doing gender work, like some organizations do already with climate and gender, we also try and integrate the youth part too, which is not as common. It's quite interesting, but if you go to a lot of gender events, even like CSW UN events, there's not a lot of young people. It's mostly just adults, young older women that participate. So this is also our effort to try and get younger women and girls as part of these events. And then of course the side event that Sydney already mentioned before, it was called Translating Policy into Action, the Role of Young Women of the Global South for Climate Justice. This was an official side event that we were fortunate enough to get for the first week of COP. And it was basically 5 women from Brazil, Lebanon, Guam, and Madagascar, I believe, that shared their personal stories related to climate action and youth activism in their home countries. So that was also a huge highlight for us. And a lot of the press that I'm going to show later on is related to this. So now I'm going to show a little bit of the stats and features that we've gotten the first year. So a big part of our strategy to become more well-known within the climate world and the gender world is social media. So we have a design officer called Hugo, and he's amazing. He does a lot of, that's his name. And he's from my hometown. He's awesome. And he's basically the person that does all of the art stuff that we have. And basically what we focus on is doing 1 post per month for article of the month, because every month we have a different article in the 3 languages that we have the platform on about different topics. So gender and agriculture, gender and water, all kinds of things. And then we also post features of conferences, for example, the conferences that I mentioned just before this. Highlights of international days, such as International Women's Day, International Day of the Girl, Earth Day, and then new content as well. I put some stats over here of Instagram, just so you have an idea, but we've had good engagement, I would say, for the first year. There's still, of course, plans so we can get that to a larger scale this year. But basically you can see the stats for profile visits, engagement, and reach. I'm not gonna go through that right now because of time, but you can take a look later. And then this also showed the top locations. Interestingly enough, US is still the biggest location just because of where Care About Climate is, I believe. But we also have a lot of engagement from Brazil, UK, interestingly, and Australia and Canada and just other countries that are not shown here, but these are the top countries and cities. And the age range is youth mainly, and mostly women as well. And then I also brought some Squarespace stats because it is an online platform. So the goal is to get people to visit the website more than anything else. So I did 2 comparisons. So the first month between April 22nd when we launched until May, Poder Clima was the second most visited page after the homepage. And then now Climate Ambassadors comes in second, and then we come right after in third. So that's also something that we're planning to do better because of course we want to be the first one. But this of course, as a reminder, yes.
I mean, you want to keep the program that's on staff
Exactly, exactly. And also just as a reminder, this is just for the homepage of Poder Clima. It's not for anything else. So if you look at the other stats, there's also a lot of page visits for the blog posts and other stuff like video and podcasts. Features, it's mostly me in all of them, just because in this first year I was the face of the program because we had 2 or 3 volunteers. But it was mostly doing COP. This is what I mentioned before. I did interviews for UNFCCC, Climate Studio, Paris Committee on Capacity Building, CGNT, which I think is the Asian News Agency, Weekend, which is basically the most important organization nowadays, along with We Do on women and climate. So that was really awesome as well. And there's also some other articles that mention empathetic agreement and myself, interviews that I did. So that really shows that even though it's been not even a year, we've had quite a lot of reach here as well. This is the Youth for Nature webinar that I mentioned. And these are other articles that I recently found out online. I hadn't seen them. First one, Univision, I think it's the biggest Spanish TV network in the US. Yeah, okay, you know that, I don't know that. And then that's the magazine, That's What She Said magazine. That was posted just last week, I believe, and that they posted stories of 3 women doing work on climate stuff. So that was also really awesome. And then 2020 timeline. I'm going super quickly just because there's a lot of stuff and I know we don't have a lot of time. But basically this year, we're doing a lot of cool stuff. I'll just summarize. For the 1-year anniversary, April 22nd, we want to add French as the 4th language, just because a lot of Africa speaks French and it's easier. We have a lot of volunteers that speak French, so that's going to be an easy step for us. And then we're just thinking, I just highlighted important dates or conferences like COP26, International Youth Day, and the Generational Equality Forum, because this year marks the 25th year of the Beijing Platform on Gender Equality. So there's a lot of events going on regarding that, especially for youth. So we're definitely doing a lot of things this year on that. And also in International Women's Day, we're launching a hashtag Empoderar Women that I can explain later, but it's mostly just highlighting women's work everywhere. Yeah, so for the priority list, we're doing an Instagram, which I'll explain quickly about, more website engagement, because as you've seen, Climate Ambassadors is beating us. And new volunteers, we already have 5 new volunteers, so now we have 8 total, which is really exciting for translation and research. And the new thing that we have, which I already talked a little bit with Sabina and Natalie about, is an Instagram, not everything for social media, just Instagram, because what we want to do is focus the targeted audience on gender and climate on this Instagram, just because a lot of people repost like inspirational quotes, on their stories, things like that. So we want to make it just like a fun platform for people to share specific content on that. But we will still work interconnected with Care About Climate to post at least 2 posts per month of Empoderar Clima. And as I said, the goal is to share stories about gender and climate content and showcase things that we post on the platform, because we post a lot of content every day and people don't get to see that because that would be spamming basically the Care About Climate's Instagram. And that's it. I went really fast just because there's a lot of things, but we can talk more in the time we have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I went a little over time. Sorry.
That's fine. Any first thoughts, questions? We can go Jeff first, and then we'll go to Sydney.
Sydney should go first.
Sydney, go.
Okay. You're now doing it in French. Do you have any plans to try and figure out doing it in Arabic? Because at COP, they had a lot of Arabic people come up to me and ask if we could get them directly.
Definitely. We had an initial conversation on that last year. We actually got an invitation, but it was very early on. I think it was 5 days after we launched. So we didn't have capacity to do that. We definitely want to do it. The reason I want to do French next is because I know French, so that's helpful for me to be able to manage the platform, because I'm the one who's posting the things every day. Hugo knows French and a lot of the translators as well. So it's just easier for us to transition into that next step. And Arabic would be a different step, because we would need to recruit volunteers that we trust to, start posting content without us being able to revise that. But we definitely want to do that, maybe for 2021. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had Univision involved. Univision.
Yeah.
Right. How did that happen?
Do not know. They just found us. I think they probably saw one of the daily recaps, because that article specifically that I posted here, I just found this today, actually. I was Googling Empoderar Clima when I found this. Yes. So there's a lot of things we don't see there out there. basically in the beginning of this specific article, they posted a picture that I took about an action, and they credited Care About Climate, and that was in the daily recap. So they probably read the daily recap and then included it.
So there's three things I want to talk about.
Yes.
And with all of us, yeah. So Univision, you know, is a very powerful platform, right? It's part of a multinational as well, but it's also one of the largest outlets for the Hispanic market and so forth in the States and because it's on the web, right? And they also have a very interesting editorial policy. They have a guy named Jorge Ramos who goes toe to toe with Trump occasionally when he's not kicked out of meetings these days. But they're brave.
Right.
Let's put it that way. And they found us. They found you. They found us. Yeah. Turns out my sister's in the world of Hispanic everything. She's a great leader in the world of Hispanic everything. She started doing this in '79. She has some ties to Univision. Yeah.
So get famous.
So
Do it.
So
I'm ready. Look at it. I'm ready. I'm everywhere.
So I'd like to get the two of you together.
Okay.
So you can kind of discuss, and also
Right.
my brother-in-law's from Panama, blah, blah, blah. So, but there are things that I think to begin to leverage off the fact that it's probably a good thing.
Right. The readers in there, it's not like to showcase, oh, look at me and all these articles. It's really because this shows the impact of the program, because it's an online platform. But if no one reads it, what's the point of it, you know?
Right.
So this is, yeah.
And it wouldn't be, I mean, it's not about you, it's about the program.
Exactly,
but,
yeah.
But somebody has to speak about it.
Exactly, yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
I was like kind of whispering to him, but we should put all these articles and stuff. We haven't like Care About Climate in the news section on the
Cool.
website.
Okay.
And we should just like copy and paste these things.
Definitely. I've been wondering where to like compile all of this. Because it's everywhere in the internet, so it's hard to like.
Do me a favor. Yeah. Send me an email with like a few paragraphs about what you'd like to share.
Okay. I have that ready somewhere.
Action item.
Then I have to go stand up.
Okay.
Do it. I need action items.
Yes, were you saying something?
But I'll go back to the timeline. You guys should comment on that.
Might not even need
Get all those stats
but
from like how
I
many
was just gonna
times
say
people
that
visit the
the
pages on
climate
Instagram and
movement
stuff.
in
Should look
the
at it, you know.
global
Oh,
north
like
frequency
to show
is
some.
very white and
Sorry, I was talking to you. I didn't hear. Wait, can you start again?
I was just thinking about Univision and the fact that in the global north, the climate movement is sometimes accused of being overly white. So Univision, so it's always good to have a platform, to have a way to bring new people in who are not in the global south, but that still leaves the movement in the global north vulnerable to the
Perception.
Either the accusation, which I can't really speak fully to how accurate it is, so I don't want to make a judgment on that. I don't feel unqualified, but the possibly accurate justification that it's excessively white, but Univision is a platform that reaches a audience of people of color in a global north country, the United States. So specifically, to focus in on that specific diversity shortcoming within the movement, working with Univision might be a very good opportunity to open the movement in the U.S. up more.
And the other thing I was going to say about that is that they may want to co-sponsor things. They may want to be a platform at conferences. They may want to invest in this effort.
Right.
So think about it both as a way of getting information out, but also
I know all of this about Univision. I just don't know why.
and yeah, that's part of what we're about.
Yeah.
But now you're learning.
I'm learning.
Yeah. Anyway, so, and look them up a little, and then compose, and we can iterate, and then I'll present, and you and my sister can get together.
Okay.
Thank
How are we doing on time?
Comments?
We have 7 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, 8 minutes.
Other stuff to talk about?
Me?
Or if anyone else
People
has any comments
online. I can talk about more stuff, but sorry, I'm blind. Oh yeah. Okay. Any comments?
I had a question, sort of. I'm definitely interested in developing further cooperation between Climate Sign and Empathetic Klima, of course. Where would I go? What do you think is the most pressing issues right now in climate and gender?
What do you mean, for the climate sign to go in, or just like in general?
Well, both, but general is okay.
Ooh, there's a lot of things with climate and gender. Well, I try to do the most basic thing with climate and gender issues in general, which is raising awareness. I believe everything has to start with education. That's why I wanted to start Empathetic Klima. Just because, if you go out of this room and talk to people about women and climate change, they'll be like, what does that have to do with anything? So I would say that information is the main thing, like getting people to know, because once people know, they can raise that with their elected officials and advocate for that. Important thing. I know that in Brazil, people are not aware of what the women leaders in the Amazon are doing, and how we can, advocate for that. So I would say that raising awareness is definitely the first thing, but there's also many things like climate finance issues and just all kinds of things. But with the climate sign, I don't know specifically how we could approach that, but as I said before in your presentation, we should definitely try and think of an approach to start that, because as I said before, it works a lot when we post pictures with people that are at a conference and we do the climate sign. But I don't know exactly, I don't know if you have ideas on how to approach it.
Yeah, I don't have any specific ideas at the very moment either, but I feel like if I can understand the issues a little bit better, we could probably come up with something.
We can definitely schedule a call and I can run through the issues more.
Yeah, I was thinking we could have a one-on-one, or other people can come too, but yeah.
For sure. Yeah, Natalie.
I was gonna say that one issue that I think is particularly impacts on women specifically when it comes to just like women are burdened, when it comes to insecurity, trying to get children educated, getting water, literally everything for the family.
Exactly.
It's on women's shoulders for the most part.
Yeah.
And so I think kind of Luke's and storytelling maybe your panel is one of the most the best array of giving perspective on how climate change is affecting women. And we should really find that panel and download it and put it on the website because it is incredible.
That's actually an issue we're trying to solve. If anyone wants to help, we actually have the broadcast link of Skype, because they broadcast it for the COP event, but we can't save it. We can't download it. I've tried calling Skype. Yeah, you report. Okay. Amazing, because that's going off the internet.
Send it to me or Logan or both of us.
And it's a great video of the whole panel. Oh, great. That's something Sydney and I have been struggling with, how to save that. But in those terms, something that Shannon and I thought about was this hashtag Empathetic Women, because a lot of our work is just sharing content, right? We don't really talk about what women on the ground are doing. So this is our chance basically to showcase real stories. It doesn't have to be that famous indigenous leader from Brazil was mentioning earlier. It can be a friend of yours that's doing something in Arizona. I don't know. Daniel had a
really cool article
I think we talked about, because she wrote one of the article of the month. Yeah, definitely. But definitely be focused on social media, because just as the feature that I was mentioning, because we get Magic for Success for us, social media as well. That's a big.
And Aaron
Ooh, Russian.
Look at
Not,
him.
not in the plans anytime soon. It's not
anything in Russia,
but
like,
could be
or
okay.
anything.
Because I don't think we have demand. That could be a lot of work. I know.
I'm
Yeah,
actually
demand.
pretty keyed in to like feminist issues in Russia. There's definitely some work to be done.
I was just kidding. We don't actually need it.
How much?
I think they have quite a bit.
It's cool though that we have already planned or demand that is ahead of the game. And I know it was super ahead of the game, that 5 days afterwards. So.
Yeah. And the goal, like years from now, is to definitely have a lot of things. Like have it be a resource.
30.
Yeah, all of the languages. But for now, I'm just focusing on what I know, which is Latin America, and now trying to open it to other regions. But we definitely have a lot of supporters, especially for Arabic. One of our panelists, yeah, she's from Lebanon, and she's really well known in her climate, in the climate. Well, I think she was the focal point for Young Girls, right? Yeah. So we have that great contact to get that started.
Also, Sarah and I were talking about I am a little bit hesitant all of this that sounds like
I think we wanted to try to do that, especially with online youth exchange materials. And I think there's ways to do it through like WeChat and like other
Or like
things.
China, right?
Yeah, like there are ways to like break those gaps, as long as we're sensitive to making sure that
Oh yeah,
it should be okay in China.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. I don't know how we would do that in the short term, but definitely something about in the future. I haven't included any of the concrete plans yet because I'm applying to a lot of things. As you know, I like going to conferences and stuff. I'm sure I'll have some updates too on things that are happening because that's also another way to show people just talking about it, going to conferences and presenting on it. So I'll keep you guys updated on what's happening. The timeline is very rough at the moment, just a draft, but there's definitely very great things coming up soon. And I'm also using this presentation for an empathetically wide volunteer call this February because now we have 8 volunteers. It's really awesome. So I'm excited to be going. And there's also a lot of interest as well for more people. I don't want to get too many volunteers because that's not the goal of the platform. To make it a good platform for people to get content from rather than having just a lot of volunteers. But they help. So I don't have to do all the translations. But yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bring us on home.
Yay! Do you want to say that? Thanks, guys. Oh, leave now.
I love administrative work.
Oh, is that?
No, you can stay where you are.
Oh wait, you're coming here.
Yeah.
I'll just switch.
But I'm not gonna lie, I love administrative work and I appreciate you so much. For doing.
Have chocolate.
We can't eat anymore, Renata.
Yes, we can.
We're so fat. Renata gave us like the nicest gifts at
How do I? No, it's here. This is the thing. I'm just trying to figure out how to present out there.
Get stickers,
Okay.
bring it
Got it.
to your home cities, countries, cities. And
We'll take all the stickers.
All right.
go.
So, hello everyone. My name is Logan. Thank you for coming to my Logan talk. It's like a TED talk, but I'm doing it. This is administrative operations, alternative organizing strategies for communication, ongoing and evolving paradigm of the global climate activist movement. What does it mean for you? Featuring Care About Climate.
Oh my God. I want to even more.
Okay.
This is the feature film.
Yeah, this is the feature
Okay.
film.
Oh my God.
So basically, I want to start by just talking about what exactly the role of an administrator is. So when we think about Care About Climate as a whole, it's like Care About Climate, what is it? Oh, it's like a 501c3, but that's just a piece of paper that's filed with the government. Oh, it's like an activist organization. Well, that's just a group of people. So basically, my job as an administrator is to take all of the people, all of the ideas, and make it so that they're able to be connected. So I'm sort of helping to just manage all the services that we're using, the stuff that's like powering the website, powering our emails, powering our lists of donors and all this. I sort of like on a higher level, I think the biggest goal that I have for administration is just lowering the barriers for communicating within the organization and without. I want to make it as easy as possible, as secure as possible, and as just accessible as possible to as many people as we possibly can. So as always, like I'm looking for more ways to do that. The emails was literally the entire Google for Nonprofits thing came out of a conversation that Natalie, Sabina, and I had at a picnic table where we were like, oh, can we get email addresses? And I was like, I don't know. We looked into it, and now we have access to $10,000 a month. And so if you have ideas, just a lot of services out there that we do know about or don't know about that we can really go forward with. And then the other thing that's been a big focus, especially in the last few months, has been streamlining and automating the boring stuff that we're actually required to do. So for example, when we get a donation, making it so that instead of like going to PayPal and manually moving the money over and then like updating people's membership and like you have to record it in 5 different places, which is just a pain in the butt, Natalie knows. Yeah. Trying to make it so that this happens automatically. And that's been a bit of a, I'm sorry?
You use Power Automate?
No, we use Zapier. Yeah. So just like automating things. And I'll talk a little bit more about that automation specifically later, but this has been, I would say, my main role so far is increasing access to the services we have, finding new services, and freeing up capacity within the organization to focus on the important stuff that we're doing. So what services does Care About Climate use and why? We've got a couple different ones. So a lot of us are familiar with Squarespace, which is the platform on which we use our website. We also use like GoDaddy, for example, to host our website. Both of those are things that like we're managing and important stuff that we might not know exactly like how it works behind the scenes. MailChimp is also really important. That's basically how we manage our email lists. So every time we are like sending an email to membership, sending an email to people who have like expressed interest, that's all working with MailChimp. Zoom, you guys know that as the way we talk to each other every week, obviously. And then Google for Nonprofits, which is like the custom emails and the Drive. There are so many more services. Like we have a bank, we have just like little things that we have logins for that we've needed to use for like 1 or 2 things a year, but it's still important that we have them, and that sort of all falls under the purview. The stonk, that's stocks, but spelled wrong. Okay.
That's when you are making bad financial stocks, when you're making bad financial decisions.
So the 2 biggest projects that have been taking up most of my time recently, I mean, I started in August technically and really started getting moving in earnest in September once I moved out to Boulder. But most recently has been implementing the Google for Nonprofits program. So getting everybody set up with the email addresses, making sure that that's been fully secure and working properly. Also things with the Google Drive, getting all of our data from various different sources into one place. Some parts of this that are still ongoing is rolling out that ads campaign that we've talked about. Renata has been awesome for sending the information about her program, and still waiting for a little bit more. I might hound everybody a little bit later tonight, and adding like the rest of the files to the Drive. And I've mentioned a couple times today some unused services that we have that would be like interesting to get into use. So like the YouTube Creator Studio for multimedia projects, that gives us a lot of tools that like we didn't have access to with videos that were posted originally. Also the Google Maps API. I think it was Sarah who had that really cool map of all the OYE participants. That gives us the power to make more informative pieces of media like that. So if you guys think, oh, I could use that video or I could use that map software, just let me know and we'll figure out the best way to get access to that. The other big project I've been working on recently has been the automation process. So Zapier is a many-headed beast, but it is a very powerful many-headed beast, and it allows us to do a lot of really cool things. So what I've worked on so far is that every time we have a donation, it gets added to a database automatically with all of the information about that person, email address, number of donations, their frequency, what kind of donation they're making. So is it a monthly membership? Is this a one-time donation? Is it for a specific program? And I am currently trying to actually get that to feed into the other services that we use, things like Salesforce or MailChimp, so that our email lists get automatically updated and our membership lists get automatically updated. So that's why I was able to pull that number of how many active members we have as part of that project that's ongoing. But beyond that, Zapier connects to like 16,000 applications and programs or something ridiculous like that. So if there's a part of your job in the day-to-day that is like repetitive or something that you think might be able to be done by a program, or just that's a pain in the butt and you'd like to be done by a program, talk to me and see if there's a way that we can figure out how to make that stuff happen. I want to free up capacity wherever I can, and by making this easier, I think it's the best way to do it. So looking forward, the near future plans I have is as campaigns out. The longer we sit, the less, like the more money is going down the drain, essentially. And that's a really powerful potential tool. $10,000 in ad buy gets you thousands of clicks on the website. And we saw the statistics that Renata put out for Embedera Klima. The more people we get looking at the website, the more eyeballs we're getting. It could very well lead directly to donations and engagement on programs and really important stuff for continuing to develop Care About Climate. I also want to finish up this donation and membership automation process. Again, talking about that freeing up of capacity building. This is kind of a pet project, but also I think it's important to eventually translate and like move things over to Slack from WhatsApp. It's another web-based client. It just is a little bit more secure in terms of like data logs and how we're handling like important within the organizational things that could be, you know, just set on those. It's not like we're saying bad stuff on WhatsApp, but Slack is just a little bit better in terms of just keeping those logs and liability reasons. I also am working on just creating a calendar that's all in one place that we all sort of have access to. So for example, if like somebody's at a conference, you can just go to the organization-wide calendar and see when their schedule is available. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. Yeah, I will be talking about that. It's a little bit further out in what I'm trying to take care of, but that's on there. Also, this is something David just suggested recently, is getting better backups for the Google Drive. We have one backup in place, which is a bunch of zip files on my Chromebook currently, and they're a few months out of date already, because it took 3 days to download them all. So if we could actually, I'm looking into finding another service that would be the best way to keep those backup files, so that in case something bad does happen or we lose access to Google for some reason that I don't see happening, you know, we still have access to those files. And then also a password manager for similar type of reason, because, you know, so many people are using like social media accounts, or they're accessing various different services that we need to run their programs. But when I came in and found out that all of our passwords were in a Google Sheets document, it just sort of like set off like the Kill Bill alarms in my head. So yeah, I'd like to, I've moved away from that to a password manager
What's
myself.
wrong with saying arrows and the doors open?
Anyway, no, but I'd like to move to password manager where everybody has a distinct login and we're able to kind of like keep the actual organizational passwords locked behind lock and key, just so that we don't have to be like replacing them constantly, because that's been something that's like even in the past couple months been a problem, like with PayPal, when we were trying to take care of some stuff with the financial situation there. So my final question, which is kind of the thing to talk about as we are finishing this up, is what else do you think my role should be as an administrator? What are things that you think I should be automating? Are there new services that you'd like me to look into? Are there existing services that we've talked about that all of a sudden like a light bulb went off in your head and you're like, oh, I think I could use that for a project that I had in mind? So let's talk. That's the best way to sort of figure stuff out. That's the end of this presentation. I'm going to get this VFX.
Are we recording this? Yeah. Can you turn the recording off for a minute?
No.
Okay. I'll
If
catch
you-
up with you
Yes,
later.
you can
Yeah,
check.
sure.
I'll record it. I'll say something more acceptable.
It's okay. Looking into QuickBooks and how we can manage our accounting a little bit more efficiently might help as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. That's part of the eventual direction that I want to take the Zapier automation is to like getting those logs in there automatically, but very good point. Thank you.
We also have like, and this is just something to think about for, and I don't really know how to manage it, but right after or like big conferences and stuff, we need to be good about putting stuff in the Salesforce and in MailChimp. We have a lot of contacts from COP, some from like, I don't even think I put those Zoo event contacts into our like MailChimp stuff and everything, just like so that we can like associate people with certain campaigns, start asking them to volunteer, start asking them to donate. Like this is the way that organizations build. And so list building is really hard, but we also, like every business card you get, you should be putting immediately, or like giving login, you need to put it into Salesforce, you need to put it into MailChimp, you need to put it into wherever. So just thinking about how we do our list management, like gather all that, because I don't even think online exchange stuff is in our Salesforce, or like there's hundreds of participants that Sarah was talking about, and like they're associated with us, but we don't know them,
Right.
which is like interesting.
That's a really
We
good
definitely
point.
should try and integrate all programs. There's something I talked with Shannon about after COP, because she also got a lot of contacts, which is a volunteer. What if she leaves one day and then those contacts that were on behalf of Carol Kleiner just go away, you know? So,
Jack and Jeff, how much have we tried to use the fact that we have profile on Amazon's line?
That's a really good question. I brought this up as well at one point in the past. It hasn't, I don't think it's been super put out there. No, so it's there, but I don't believe we've been really pushing it as like a, oh, so like care about climate as your Amazon's climate.
It's
something we could like add to.
What?
Sierra Club has money.
Yeah, Sierra
we
Club's
don't.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, something we could easily do with that, if we're not still doing like, I know we've tried on and off about monthly newsletters, but anything we send out to the mass groups, that could be at our footnote at least.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just throw that on there as one of our base lines.
Yeah, we don't. Sorry.
No, you're there.
We could also start adding like specific like tags to certain people, especially in MailChimp, so we can have like an online change tag or a new tag, so you can start doing newsletters to specific people, or you can like mass email people. But if you have specific lists that you want to send,
Does Carol Kleiner currently send regular newsletters?
no, it would be
I know we did
ideal.
during COP.
In
and
theory.
it was really great.
No, we
Definitely
should.
a plan that
We haven't regularized.
I mean, that would be cool for an admin person to pull together and remind us and bother us about, but I also recognize that that's a lot of crap.
If there's like a template and then we just send you all of the information, you just compile it and send it.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we kind of do.
So here's what I wanted to, three things. Not that you were gonna.
I was just thinking we have a template that's essentially 3 articles or links or like pictures, and then the link to it, a brief description, and then so 3 of those, and then a donate button. Like that's the template. And so if we have like blog posts and articles that like, which we do, I think we have more than 3 a month. We could just easily churn that out every month.
Yeah.
So you're an admin person, right?
There, yes.
Right. And you love admin, right?
I do.
Okay. And I like to talk. No, and the thing is like this. So we have these things that come up that always kind of get pushed to the back of the bus. Something like, oh, I don't know, a grant application, or I don't know, like a financial report or a year-end report. Wouldn't it be nice if there was some way to like have templates so that when we have information like from blog posts or, you know, looking at like what grants want, that we could like filter that through so that the kind of binning could take place beforehand and we're not all sprint. Wouldn't it be nice if we could we do that? Could we think of a way to kind of segregate the information in a way so we could like drop it down and drop it into things, sort of kind of? So that's something to think about. And the other thing I had was ads.
Yes.
Right. What kind of ads are we placing these days?
None except for Google Grant. We used to
No,
do
no,
a lot more
right.
advertising.
But with Google Grant, what's the content of the ad?
Text.
Yeah.
What's the content of the text?
Right now,
what does it say?
We don't have the specifics for that planned out yet.
Okay.
How about support us by
So.
Is it okay if I like
what?
Pull up the Google Ads on this?
Do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm
okay.
gonna comment on something, which will involve the person who left the room, and Sarah is not here, and maybe Aaron, who's over there.
Yeah, Aaron should write some Google ad text.
So it's text only.
Yeah.
It's
It's
fine.
like the way that Google Ads, there's a couple categories. There's display ads and then there's written text ads.
Check your
The text ones just, you see it basically whenever you log in, but it's like those ones that are at the top.
And
Google searches or?
Yeah, Google searches.
And we have $10,000 a month.
Yes, we do.
Does $10,000 a month buy us any visual, or just
No, unfortunately, the program specifically, the money that they give us is a grant in kind for the specific kind of ad that you get.
And show me, please. Less, please.
We do have a Google Ads account. No, come on. I know we do.
Did you make this up?
No. Here we go. Here it is. Yes.
Okay.
You should make a Google ad, yes.
Okay.
So what?
Are you
So
talking
these
to
were
me?
like.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of in general. All right. None here. Okay. So like when we go to just like the Google Ads homepage, this is what it will ostensibly look like once it loads. It's a bit clunky. What we Sorry, I have a Chromebook, not an Apple. So this is a different account.
Wow. Chromebook's the only way it's
Wow.
I'm sure.
Sorry, I
really.
Okay, so this is the like homepage for the Google for Nonprofits program.
Okay.
So our Google Ad Grants program,
Yeah.
what they have is we get $10,000 a month specifically for like when you Google search for something. Like I don't know, it's an example Google search.
Care about climate, or sorry.
I love the earth.
Like, no, it wouldn't be that.
It would be like
gender and climate change.
Yeah.
That is true.
How about
And,
climate change?
and we want to get it
Not
like
like
that.
that 2 minutes ago.
So the ads that sort of go up here that are in those like light green boxes that are text, that's the $10,000 a month we have to place those ads.
Yeah, it goes in the top.
You can take
Yes.
off my ad blocker if you
It
want to show
basically
me.
goes, which is the whole issue of Google. It
Oh,
goes
that might be
into
why.
like,
Okay, so
Yeah, just click on it and then reload.
yeah.
Google global warming.
Or you could also try to Google like climate change,
How to
climate
stop climate
internships.
Yeah. Although some of these, okay.
Climate movement.
Some of these are, well, that's the thing. Okay, so I'm going to walk through this process just so everybody has a sense of like what it looks like. When we want to make an ad campaign for something, we would go into the campaign status, enable a new campaign, and this is what it looks like. Specifically, and this is from Google, we use a campaign without a goals guidance. we use the smart search ad campaign. So this is creating text and image ads that doesn't apply to us that show up on Google Maps and across the web.
And we have to use that one.
We do.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. So that's, you guys know what it looks like.
Google global warming.
Yeah.
Here's an ad that says you should vote for Mike Bloomberg.
Okay.
Very fitting, right?
If you open the ad,
It takes you to his website.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yes, I'm still, yes.
Let's.
That doesn't have anything to do with it, but it's like, it's not like to do with my program.
Mhm.
You have a program? But, well, yeah, at one point I did. People Google Earth Day and Climate Science shows up. Oh, yeah, that would be a great idea.
Right, that is a great idea. And the second thing I was gonna say, which this is better than what I was gonna say, but what I was also gonna say is that we should have something behind, when I just clicked on what Jack brought up, it went to another ad, which is basically, right, which was an ad for Michael Bloomberg's activity. So what I would like to see, if we can do a layer, so we get the $10,000 for free, right? And then it directs people to our thing. And what I'd like to see is if we can start to give people a sense of how big we are, which goes to the GIS stuff, which goes to OAE, which is like a picture. That's all I was trying to get to. Well, that's not all I was trying to get to. But as far as trying to is give people a picture of where we are on the planet, what we're doing. Right?
We can get a lot of clicks.
Right.
And
Yes.
underneath those clicks, there's something like signing up for what Care About Climate on Amazon Smile or donating $2. We can turn that money that we can spend on something very limited into money we can spend sending people to CAC or paying our staff.
That's all true.
Or
And
buying our office.
that's all true. And what Sabina's saying is, the impact we can have, right? As far as placing ourselves inside of the envelope, if I'm hearing properly.
So these are all very good ideas and very good thoughts. Part of essentially the fine print for this is what we're getting is an in-kind grant of $10,000 a month from Google. And they are very specific about how these ads are going to get placed. So as we can see, this is the compliance guide that they give to anybody who is in this program. So we can't have any single-use keywords. We can't have any overly generic keywords. And we do not have access to the most powerful keywords, the one with a quality score of 1 or 2. Things like climate change, like climate volunteer, United Nations conference, the types of keywords, those are accessible to us, but the campaigns occasionally are going to be limited in scope. We're not going to be able to have our ads show up when some 12-year-old Googles Fortnite. It's just, right. No, that's the thing. So the other thing.
So we're good with that.
What if we can find things that aren't particularly high priority keywords that are still used a lot and correlate with interest in global warming?
As we, oh goodness, I want this to go away. I'm trying to shift the tab.
Who does have
2 minutes.
9:35. Can I just make this leave? Okay. So where are we? Okay. So as we're making a campaign, I hate this so much. We specify the area that we want it to be in. So in our case, let's just, for this example, say the United States. We have.
It can be various areas.
Yes, it can be anything. It can be.
Because I sent you a few countries, and I will show those.
Yeah. So these are the ad by words and the keywords that they're suggesting. So climate change, global warming, greenhouse effect, causes of global warming, and effects of global warming. And according to Google, they're estimating around 2.5 million people searching around those keywords a month. Yeah. So, I mean, we can, as you can see, each one has different stuff. So for example, if I just add climate change, we can see that Google is saying that in the United States, around 630,000 people are searching for that a month. And that's our base buy. One of the other specific things that Google wants for this is to make sure that it's not just like ads that are useless. Thank you. So it needs to have a 5% click-through rate each month. So these ads do need to be successful, and they are pretty hands-on with this program. Like, this isn't, they're just saying like, here's $10,000, go at it. They're saying like, you know, we actually have like an FAQ. There's like people on Google's end that are able to answer questions. They manually review every nonprofit ad that goes through to make sure that it meets the specific quality things that they need. And it's just a really interesting program. I'd love to talk more about it if we have time, but basically the way that we can get this set up the best, in my opinion, having looked into this for a little while, and if you like go back into the emails that I've sent, you can see links to the like YouTube video that Google has where they talk about this, and links to more specifics on like the help guide and everything. Thank you. But basically, what I think the best way that we can approach this is having program-focused specific ads, because they limit like call to actions. We can't say like volunteer with Care About Climate. No. You can say like it has to be very specific and like yes, something like that. So right. We can say support it, and we can have it linked to the donations page or the home page or the volunteer page, but we can't say give us money.
Right.
We can say donate here.
And that's why I'm trying to get us as soon as possible to get recognition from people that it's not about the money, it's about what they're investing in.
Mm-hmm.
It's about our reach, it's about our process, it's about whatever it is that is going to attract people to click on.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just like fund me, it's GoFundMe pages.
Yeah.
You got to GoFundMe.
Yeah.
But we're trying to do a little bit there. I don't know. It's just an idea.
All right, quick thing, because I know we're out of time, but I really, because it was one of the main points how useful this is. I want to make sure with the 3 program directors we have here, Renata, Sydney, and Aaron, is there anything automated or something you think Logan could be helping with? That's one of his main key things to get out of this for either of you, any of you 3.
You don't have to know right now. You can email me.
Well, we've been talking already.
Yeah, we've been talking.
For sure, just because first base isn't specific enough. So we're working on something to get more specific stats and also ads for sure.
Yeah, and I want to think about, we already talked a little bit about like the sign for change stuff, but like thinking about some way of posting all those submissions. What the best way
we do have access to things like Google Sites as part of the program, so that would be good. But we should talk more about that.
Google Sites is
Yeah, it's not the best, but it's free.
Aaron, do you need
Not at the moment, no. But thank you. I definitely am keeping things in mind.
Oh yes, yeah. So.
No. I just wanted to mention it.
Action item.
Action item.
All right, I'll write up. All right, well, thank you, Logan.
Yay.
Thank you, everyone.
Yay.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Oh,
A quick shout out for those of you who don't know, Aaron actually helped Natalie and I draw the climate sign back on old college days. So I know he's jumping back into the game because he's part of the OG. Just for a lot of new people here that don't know him.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Whoa.
What?
You did what to you in Kazakhstan?
All right, we can stop the recording.
Wow.
under more.
More.
All done.
All right.
All done.
Or
sorry.
Now it's
recording.
Oh, there we
Right
go.
next to chat.
and go to yes.